All right, it says we're live. Welcome in, everyone. I want you guys to get excited as I'm about to have a wonderful breakdown and elaboration on our upcoming book and event and gala with the lovely Kween Katt. She is a very intelligent woman. She has been through many of the same things we've been through around the same time. It's almost like we soul twins or something like that. So we met a few years ago. Both after leaving religion. So we didn't know each other while we were in religion, but a lot of our lives, it sort of mirrors or whatever. I look at her like the female version of myself. We both do music. We both are motivational speakers. We both are very strong in our purpose with enlightening the world and trying to help others. We just have a lot in common, and we join together in this because we simply have a lot in common. We see our views the same. We know of people in our lives who've been through similar things, leaving religion, and just with other things we've been through. But mainly on the leaving religion, we join together so we can be a double dual threat or double dual help to all those who are struggling with religion. So, with no further ado, family, this is Kween Katt, and I'll allow her for a moment to tell you a little bit about herself, and we'll build from there.
Greetings, family. As he said, I go by the name of Miss Anita, aka Kween Katt. I am a rapper, singer, DJ, motivational speaker, dog breeder. I do it all. And I always say jack of all trades, but master of all as well. And yeah, I'm just a loving being who wants to continue to spread love, light, and peace and freedom in any way that I can. My purpose is to get the message out where anybody can understand it, you know. So that's basically it in short. I can continue to go on and on about myself. I've been in the entertainment business for a long time, since I was 15 years old. I am in my 30s, so that'll tell you, it's been a minute. And I kind of talk about that in this book, means Kev's journey on me coming across him and finding him, and how just it was like his video just sucked me in. It was something about him. Um, and he doesn't know this because I added it after he sent me his edit. So I'll discuss it a little bit before we dive deep into the book. But I was going through, and it's also in, I have a chapter in the book called Imposter Syndrome, and a lot of you might be able to relate to that. But when I came across Kev, that imposter syndrome kind of like crept up in me, because even though I related to him and gravitated to him, the way his intellectual and his swag was, I felt like he was kind of like out of my league. And when I say out of my league, by his appearance, by his etiquette, all of that, I felt like I wasn't worthy. But I overrode that and reached out to him anyway. And it's look at where we are today. So that's some of the things that you are gonna come across in the book. I know a lot of you, go through that as well, when you done hustled and you done did everything that you know how to do, and it's time to reap the harvest. And when you start walking into that harvest, you start to feel like I'm not worthy, or I'm a fraud, or I'm not supposed to be here, but you are supposed to be here. And so that's one of those things where I want to help people kind of like get across, like, take that leap of faith, jump, you never know. Like he says, I am the opposite of him. And it's that duality. You need a balance, you need that masculine, you need that feminine, but you also need that etiquette and that intellectual side. And where you might not be able to understand him, you might be able to understand me. So enough said. I'll let you pick back up, Kev.
That's actually awesome. It's very humbling to know that you felt that way. That's amazing. You've never revealed that to me, and that's amazing. To know that you felt that way, because I could not see it. I saw someone who was capable, someone who had insight, and someone who had an amazing glow on them. And ever since I've known you, that glow has just never diminished. When you perform, it is next to really almost none. Now, I'm a rapper, but I love singers, right? And when singers hit certain notes, I just get chills all through my body. It's just something I feel, right? I actually get that feeling whenever you rap, whenever you perform. From the person that you are on a normal basis is an amazing person. But whenever you walk out and you're ready to perform, you are absolutely not the same entity at all. It's something else, and it's surreal. You know what I mean? So It's mind blowing to see you in action, to see you do your thing. And when you are in that form, you are in God form, and ain't no mistake about it. So when I saw you getting familiar with you, I've never felt like that you could even think that. That's amazing. But
Yeah,
that tells me that I've done a great work too. And if someone as capable as yourself could feel that way, I'm
definitely.
so glad you pushed past that so we could form our friendship.
Thank you.
Yes,
Me
man.
too.
It's been an amazing honor. We've done many events together. I think I may have worked with you about almost more than I've worked with anybody outside of my brand. So I always love working with you, and I'll always work with you in the future as well. So it's just great. I got all tingly feelings and everything inside of me right now. It's good. It's good. It's good. Let's get into it, family. All you guys who are on here, if you have left religion, if you have changed your mental state, your purview from how you were when you were a child, or how it may have been nurtured into you as a child, you probably know about what we're talking about. This live or this event, even the book, family, is not specifically about leaving religion, as in changing your religion or your belief style. Um, Religion, we know it as religare, something that binds or ties up, right? The rules therein. I mean, I see many Christians who are still devout in their Christian beliefs, yet are not religious, and so they similarly went through uh, some of the same things when they changed over from being religious to, I guess you would call it, more spiritual, so they can feel more free to practice without being criticized by religious dogma. Either way, when you make that transition, you don't expect it, but you lose people.
Hmm.
You turn people against you. You open yourself up to criticism and threats, and it can change your life, man. It can bleed into how you see yourself. It can make you very insecure. It can ruin your relationships between your closest friends and family members and loved ones. And I don't think any of us are preparing for that. Now, we'll go through changes in life, and we'll change our mind on many other topics and things of that nature. But you never suspect. I don't think we expected as much as it got whenever we changed our beliefs from religion. And it's not something that any of us asked for. It's just when you sit there and do the work, the inner work, without consulting people outside of you, your mind is subject to change because you don't really know how you feel about something. You've been told how to feel about something, and every time you grab a little bit of how um, you feel like you become more alive. You feel like you become um, more free, right? Because you know how you feel about something. But when you speak that out, you seem to lose people. We seem to deter people, and it leaves us feeling lonely. So
Right.
mainly the reinvention after religion is about mental growth, um, you know, emotional growth, growing up as a human being. I mean, it'll force you to grow up in many areas. It'll force you to be accountable to your own behaviors, your own actions. Um, when it comes to things like being in religion, how you pray, how you seek your God, how you commune with your members at your church, all these things are subject to change, and that could leave you completely lost as to how to tap into your own spirituality. And guys, I think this book is going to help you guys get back on the right track if you are experiencing the emptiness inside of you, whether that be through the lack of a spiritual life. Maybe you left praying altogether, maybe you left reading altogether, or even getting up with members of your church and stuff altogether. um, Maybe you feel a disconnect simply because you don't believe anymore. Whatever that may be, family, this book aims to kind of target all those areas and help us develop to have where we can have strong relationships and a good outlook on life. Develop our own moral code. Um, Develop how we want to raise our children outside of literature, family. So um, let's get into it. I wrote this right here just to read this before we get started. I wrote here, leaving religion can be a deeply personal and transformative experience filled with a wide range of emotions and challenges. Each individual's journey is unique, but here are some common aspects of someone leaving religion may encounter. You may question your beliefs. The process of leaving religion often begins with questioning deeply held beliefs. Doubts may arise about the existence of God, the validity of religious teachings, or the moral framework provided by religion. Now, I'll start there, and I'll bring Queen Katt in on this. It says questioning beliefs. The process of leaving religion often begins with questioning deeply held beliefs. Doubts may arise about the existence of God, the validity of religious teachings, and moral framework provided by the religion. So for me, it started with questioning my beliefs. Okay. Uh, it didn't start with the deeply held beliefs, but it started about um, the teachings and the moral framework provided by the religion. Long before I ever questioned the idea of God, um, or the idea of my belief in God, I was questioning the teachings, um, the moral framework of the teachings in the Bible. Okay, so Queen Cat, just if have you ever been there? Have you ever read the Bible for yourself and
Definitely.
saw inside of this book God doing an act that without being told God is good all the time, without being made to feel like God does not make mistakes ahead of time, right? We
Mhm.
call that poison in the well when someone tells you how to think before you read something, right? And
Right.
so if you're told this whole book, God never makes a mistake. He is completely perfect. He judges us,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Have you ever read this book and you saw a place in there that just made you question the morality of your own God? I mean, while believing in this, and it become a very uncomfortable feeling because what God is doing in that moment, you wouldn't say it's good, but you're told to say He's good all the time. If that happened, could you tell me about a time and maybe a certain scripture it was about and how that made you feel?
Definitely. I tell people all the time, and I talk about it in my first book, hashtag No Religion, my experience of waking up, because I was actually an ordained minister and I was on the verge of going to theology school, saving up to the money to be able to do it. And so I started studying, going to the library myself, and reading more books, and finding out that a lot of the New Testament, they actually start off saying that Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, this person told their version of the book. And so I'm going to tell you my version of the book. And also finding out that Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, the authors, were not the same Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, the disciples. So those were like red flags. And
Mm-hmm.
reading the book, the Bible, I believe it's the book of Judges, where there was this guy who begged, him and his wife separated, the wife went back to the father, and he begged the father for like weeks for him to give the daughter back. And when the father finally gives in and gives the daughter back, they happen to go through this town, and while they're going through this town, a group of men come and they want to gang rape the man. And so
Absolutely.
he ends up throwing the wife out that he begged for. He throws her out and they rape her all night. When he wakes up, so he goes to sleep and all that, he wakes up, goes back. They left the woman on the porch or where he stayed, and he chopped the woman's body up. The husband chopped the woman's body parts up, and started sending it to different places and created this big old war. So that's one of those things where it's like, if you're telling me to read the Bible for comfort and I'm coming across this, as a
Mm-hmm.
woman, that's horrible, because
Mm-hmm.
we're looked on as property, we're looked on as nothing, and as a Black woman, I'm even lesser than anything,
Mm-hmm.
so that wasn't comforting at all. Going to the book of Samuel, and
Mm-hmm.
I believe Stephen, uh, either Stephen did or his brother did, raped his sister.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just a lot of rape. It's a lot of rape in the Bible that I didn't understand.
Yes,
Uh,
ma'am.
there's a lot of slavery, a lot of obey your masters, a lot of turning the other cheek, a lot of just things that I didn't agree with. A lot
Yes,
of
ma'am.
suppression of how you actually feel, and I'm not about any of that. So all of
Mm-hmm.
those things were the wake up call for me. It wasn't my story is just kind of like you said, you're finding out in trying to learn more about your religion,
Yes, ma'am.
about the book, and not just hearing the tickle me scriptures of, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want, the encouraging stuff. Like, it has some encouraging stuff, but if you read that book from front to back, you start to see that if I'm going to follow this book completely, there's not a lot that you can do. Like, you're not supposed to be wearing cotton and wool at the same time if you're following the book. You're not
Right.
supposed to be eating shellfish. You're not supposed to be eating pig and different things like that, but we begin to make excuses to continue to do what we want to do. And if you're going to follow the book, follow the whole book, teach the whole book, and not just parts that make you feel good or keep going.
Mm-hmm. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. And pardon me, I can hear you clearly, but I wanted to grab that scripture for the people who may not understand that scripture or have ever heard of it. And if you don't mind, I want to read a little bit of it so they can see kind of what you saw in real time as you're reading the scripture. Okay. So you spoke about it coming from Judges. This is Judges chapter 19, and we're going to go to verse 20. We're going to start from there. It says, "You are welcome at my house," the old man said. "Let me supply water, whatever you need. Only don't spend the night in the square." So he took him into the house and fed his donkeys after he had washed their feet, and they had something to eat and drink. So we see this man is offering them, shelter and food. So while they were enjoying themselves, some of the wicked men in the city surrounded the house. Pounding on the door, they shouted to the old man who owned the house, "Bring out the man who came in your house so we can have sex with him." Now we know that word is rape, right? The owner of the house went outside and said to them, "No, my friends, don't be so vile. Since this man is my guest, don't do this outrageous thing. Look, here's my virgin daughter and his concubine. I will bring them out to you now, and you can use them and do to them whatever you wish. But as for this man, don't do such an outrageous thing." Now, don't that sound crazy? A godly man, right? "I'll bring you out my daughter and a concubine, and you can do with them whatever you wish." That's not good at all, right? I can imagine what that felt like for your eyes, being a woman, seeing that basically they're just getting passed around, right?
Yeah.
They didn't care what the daughter said, they didn't care what the concubine said, just going out there and just tells these men, "Have your way with them," right? Unreal. When her master got up in the morning and opened the door, hang on, but the men would not listen to him. So the man took his concubine and sent her outside to them, and they raped her and abused her throughout the night. And at the dawn, they let her go. At daybreak, the woman went back to the house where her master was staying and fell down at the floor and laid there until daylight. When her master got up in the morning, he opened the door of the house and stepped out to continue on his way. There lay his concubine, following the doorway of the house with her hands on the threshold. He said to her, "Get up, let's go." But there was no answer. Then the man put her on his donkey and set out for home. Now, she didn't speak, right? So she was battered beyond speaking, okay? Didn't say she was dead, though. Said she wasn't speaking. All right. When he reached home, he took a knife and cut up his concubine limb by limb into 12 parts and sent them into all areas of Israel. Everyone who saw it was saying to one another, "Such a thing has never been seen or done, not since all the day of the Israelites came up out of Egypt. Just imagine, we must do something. So speak up." Now, isn't that crazy? Now, you see this, we talk about the Bible being full of parables and whatnot, and this is a parable. But if you understand this as it really happened in reality, it's very dangerous, right? But I always say when you're reading this, always take a look at the numbers. Notice he chopped her up into 12 parts, right? This number 12 seems to ring true throughout the Bible. 12 tribes of Israel, 12 disciples. Jesus born on the third day, which is, 1 plus 2. And this Jesus dies at 33, which is 6 multiples of 3. So anytime you see these things in the Bible, family, this is in fact a parable for you to understand the meaning of it and not the narrative of it, right? So it seems really horrible and detestable, but it's a parable, family. But I can understand reading this as a believer, and you say, "Wait a second, God is supposed to be good all the time." Now, this doesn't say God did this, but man, this is a man of God. Where is God during this whole scene? And why is this even in here? What do we do with this information here, right? Now, this happens over and over and over in the Bible, but if you let people who are your adults in the church, they will not talk to you about these scriptures. Now, many of you guys are going to say, "I've never heard that one before." That's because they don't teach it. They don't know how to deal with it. And many of these scriptures, they don't deal with. And that leads to people like ourselves to read it ourselves and have to try and deal with this ourselves. And it's just very difficult because it upsets how you see your God, how you see your religion, and how you see this book that is deemed as holy, that has always already been accepted as holy. So a great example, Kween Katt.
And like you said, they teach is parables, but they don't teach it in parables.
They don't.
So if the wrong person got a hold of that scripture, they would make an excuse to rape women,
Right.
like, because they don't teach it as parables. They teach it
Absolutely.
as it's literal.
It absolutely is. And if you go back, this isn't the first time a story like this has been told. ISIS was supposedly chopped up into many pieces. Not ISIS, but
Osiris.
Osiris was chopped up into many pieces. So you can see this being flipped and revised and redone all throughout literature, these parables, right? So it's not the first time it's written. It's a bit plagiarized, but it's changed up a little bit. It's kind of like The Lion King. The Lion King was plagiarized. So a lot of its parts and its ideas was taken from an original version of the Lion King, and people don't understand that a lot of our religious literature and iconography is the same way.
Crazy.
One of the
My Kuna Matata.
Yes, man, I like that. Look, I ain't even see that. I ain't noticed that.
Yeah.
That's crazy. That's ironic. One of the scriptures that got me was early on in Genesis when they were just simply talking about Jacob and the king. And Jacob goes and works for the king, and he has a deal with the king that he's going to look out for the king's sheep. And Jacob and the king are now discussing how he will be paid. And so Jacob says, just pay me with the sheep that I watch. And the way we'll do this is I will keep all the speckled and spotted sheep since it's less of them. And you keep all of the white, pure sheep that's one color, they don't have any spots. Those will be your sheep, my king. The king agrees because most of the sheep are white. They're not speckled and spotted. Now, here comes the problem with this. It says that in order for Jacob to get spotted sheep, that he painted a stick with stripes and spots, and he had these sheep to breed while looking at the stick, and this yielded spotted sheep. And so Jacob runs off with most of the king's sheep. He stole them through manipulation. Now, what makes this bad is that Jacob is blessed by God, okay? And Jacob is misusing his authority, right? And where is God to stop him, right? God doesn't stop him. But people say, well, God didn't help him either, but you tell me God didn't help him. How? We know that you don't get spotted sheep by them staring at a stick, right? So biologically, this does not make sense. And so what I find when I read that, it's like they expect you to really suspend your critical thinking faculty. Don't think about logic at all and just believe the story. So it's not really about God having special powers to create miracles. It's about anything in this book simply being exempt from knowledge, and you just have to accept it. Because even though Jacob never prayed to God for the ability to do this, it happened because Jacob was deceptive and wanted to do that. Now, Jacob could have been deceptive and thought, hey, I'll steal this man's sheep. I'll paint sticks and I'll have the sheep look at it, look at it and sleep together. To Jacob's dumb mind, that may sound good in theory, but it should have failed miserably, right? The problem is that it worked, okay? And Jacob goes and escapes with this king's sheep. And so I know that's not logical. That doesn't make any sense, you know? And that's just one of them. Another one in Exodus, when God has rescued the Israelites from Egypt, they are unknowing of what the true God wants and needs from them, right? Yahweh, the God of the 12 tribes of Israel. They don't yet know this God. They've just been freed from this God. So all they've known is the Pharaoh's God, right? And Pharaoh worships Apis, the bull god, or Taurus, right? And so they're worshiping this giant cow. And we know that Taurus, or the cow or the bull, is symbolism for slavery, right? The yoke is put on the ox. And so Exodus is under the constellation of Taurus, but we don't know this. We just think the Bible is just talking about cows for some reason, right? And Hinduism does this too. They're under the zodiacs and stuff like that too, where they're following the sun. But anyway, they use this cow, and now the Israelites want to worship God, and they don't know any other way to worship God except for to build a golden calf. This is what they have been doing. So all the gold that they took with them from Egypt, they're going to, ask each other for how much ever gold they have, sacrifice, put that together in unity to build a calf, to worship it. Now, Moses is up on top of Mount Sinai getting the 10 Commandments from God. This is a lot like the Quran, where Elijah goes up to a mountain to get separated to be with Allah. Now, it's weird that God pulls you away from everyone to get along with him, so no one else can see your connection or the validity of God, and they all have to trust you as a messenger. This seems to be the going narrative in all these religious books, right? Why does God need to pull Elijah to the top of the mountain away from everyone to have this conversation to test his faith? Why does God need to pull Moses to the top of Mount Sinai away from everyone? Why? It would seem these men can go get away from everyone, come up with a bunch of good lies, come back and manipulate the people with thus saith the Lord, right? Now we see this with our churches. It's built this way. They go into their prayer closet, God gives them a word, and they come out and give it to us. We don't get that word. We don't get that word, they give it to us. Now we can see this is going on. God chooses hierarchy, which is, that's in every religion, that God chooses hierarchy. He never comes and just tells people what he wants. I think he could have. I think that God could have told all the Israelites what he expected from them, instead of pulling Moses to the top of Mount Sinai. So to me, the problem is God, the authority figure, the leader. But God does not have this view, and God is supposed to be perfect and all-knowing. So when I'm reading this book, And God says to Moses, your people are down there worshiping false gods. My thinking was, when did it become Moses' people? I thought those were your people, God. I thought Moses, like those people, were your people. I didn't know that you had Moses and Moses had your people. That's weird to me. So that sounds like God denying those people by calling them Moses' people. So anyway, it blows my mind to see that God sees it that way, right? So he says they're down there worshiping false gods. Well, they don't know any other God. They only know the God that they know. So God should excuse that, right?
Right.
But God says because they did that, we're going to kill 3,000 of them. So we're going to have each Israelite turn their knife on each other in their sleep until the death toll reaches 3,000. I thought that was extremely harsh.
Right.
Because they didn't know any better, right? Now, the only tribe who didn't take parts in this was the tribe of Levi. So the tribe of Levi gets rewarded by being the spokesman or the preachers of God. And this is why a Levite is the only person that can receive tithe. This is why the only person that can receive a tithe is the Levites, because of this one day. So the 11 other tribes are now forced to work, get their inheritance through their own working. But the Levites they receive God as their inheritance. So you're not actually supposed to be a preacher, break down or depart the word or feed the word out or accept a tithe unless you are from the tribe of Levi. But many preachers still say, give me a tithe, and they cannot prove that they're from the tribe of Levi. But anyway, it just blew my mind that God chose to annihilate 3,000 per the scripture. But again, 3,000. Why not 2,099? Why not 14,000? Why does it have to be 3,000, a multiple of 3, right? Because it didn't really happen, okay? It's all parable. But if you're taught to look at this and believe it as real, it really happened, then you'll say, okay, God is good all the time, but he seems to have very low patience. Would you call that good all the time if 3,000 people had to die? And then you would say, well, is God really against murder? Because they say, on the 10 Commandments Moses has, one of them says, thou shalt not murder. That's what Moses was up there getting, the 10 Commandments, right?
Right.
While he's getting the 10 Commandments, they're worshiping false gods. And how does God say deal with them? Murder. He doesn't say, I'm just going to allow for 3,000 of you to die. No, he says 3,000 of you will die, and it's going to be at your own hands. I mean, just think about this. The mental trauma that you would have to feel from stabbing your own brother in the night until 3,000 people was dead. I mean, come on now. That you couldn't have just said how you want to be worshipped. You couldn't have just said, do not build the golden calf, destroy it, and let me show you how I want to be worshipped, me being Yahweh, your God. Couldn't that have been said? And who am I? And if I say this, the Christian will say, who are you to make decisions for God? You are not God. You're absolutely right. But the problem is they say this being is perfect and he never makes mistakes and he knows all, he can see all, and he rescued those people. Pharaoh wasn't killing 3,000 of them in a day.
No.
So it seemed that they were in a better position when they were yet enslaved, because they're not truly to the land of milk and honey. They're out here sleeping on the ground now, in tents now.
And that's why they wanted to go back. That's why they wanted to go back.
I'd want to go back. I'd want to swim right across that sea and get right back to Pharaoh and hug him, put a big hug around his neck, because he didn't do you like that, right?
Right.
So, and this happens on and on throughout this journey to try and get to the land of milk and honey, right? And one of the biggest problems with it was supposed to be like a 3-day journey, but it turned into a 40-year journey, which is absolutely unreal, right? So come on, man. The people who left Egypt that he freed never even made it. Not even Moses himself. So, and Aaron, neither Moses himself never got to see the promised land. And there, it's just, to me, it's just a lot of inconsistencies, and that's just one of them for me.
Yeah, that bothered me as well. That bothered me as well with Moses, because I think it's been a minute, but I believe that Moses didn't make it to the promised land because he struck the rock, because he was frustrated with the people.
Absolutely.
In his frustration, he did what was told, but he just struck it instead of, and for that, he didn't get a chance to make it. I mean, it bothered me like that I didn't think that was fair. All the work that, because I look at life, or I'm reading, I tend to read things as if it were me. If God in his frustration can kill 3,000 people, I can't strike a rock. Instead of slapping a person, he struck the rock, and from that one mistake, I don't get to see what I worked for. So it's just one of those things that turned me as well.
Right. And the question it raises is, if I'm made in your image, why am I being punished for anger? When you really have shown me yours, right? God will show you his wrath, and you are made in his image. And if he sees your wrath, he punishes you for it. But God doesn't even say his wrath is wrong. So it's
Mhm.
amazing how he makes excuses for everything he does, and his people are not supposed to question it, right?
Mhm.
To me, it's synonymous with government, and that's how I would read it. I would really read it synonymous with government. I say, what if we can be convinced to accept this belief, we'll never challenge the people who truly have power. And if we believe in this and it was given to us by those people who have power, then they are our God if we believe in the God they gave us.
Right.
So I started looking at that with a whole lot more depth, right?
Right.
Um,
And that's
uh,
what happens to convince a group of people or an entire population to not get angry. You know,
mhm,
one of the things we talk about in Reinvention After Religion as well is one of the things that comes up is anger. The emotions are there for a reason. Anger is one of those things that leads you to do something. So you're going to change something if you get angry, as long as you're complacent and just sitting there and accepting whatever they do to you, you're going to accept. But when you get angry, what's next? Something needs to happen. We got to do something. And I tell people, it was funny that you said government, because I was just thinking that, like, other places the government fears their people. In America, the people fear the government.
absolutely.
And the government is supposed to work for we the people. So
Right.
if you convince we the people to just accept whatever is said, that's why we tend to have things of mandates and mandatory this and mandatory that. And it's like, uh-oh, if you don't do this, then this is going to happen. If you don't do this, this is going to happen. You done tricked all these people into doing something to harm themselves. And it's history repeats itself. That's why they say you have to learn from the past. You have to study the past so you know where you're going.
Mhm.
If we studied the past, we would have known about the Tuskegee Airmen. We would have known about um, the AIDS crisis. We would have known all these different little knickknacks and tests that the mosquitoes that they were releasing, malaria and all these different stuff. We would have known about that before 2020, before the other test that was ran that they're now saying you didn't need all that stuff, you know?
Mhm.
So that's why it's important to know your history. It's important to know the true meaning of what the books are saying so that you can recognize it. If you
Mhm.
trick me into believing that anger is wrong, don't be there's scriptures that say be anxious for nothing. A soft answer turns away wrath. All those things are true. We have to learn how to control the emotions, but each emotion is necessary, and
Mhm.
anger is necessary to make things happen.
Mhm. Absolutely. Absolutely. I want to speak to this comment that Natamula, just so you feel accepted and understand that how you feel matters as well. They said what you said, love. It is not right. The Bible speaks about a false prophet that will come and mislead the masses or massive. I know this is most likely going to get me blocked, but I listen, and I strongly disagree with most of the things being discussed. That will not get you blocked. That is absolutely okay. Well, your thoughts are okay. We appreciate your thoughts. They do not bother us at all. So you keep stating your opinion. That is perfectly fine if you believe in the Bible wholeheartedly. Many of us were there, and it's fine that you feel this way. Okay. Um, I used to feel that way, and then I found that I have accepted that book because people told me to, and I challenged the book itself for facts and things like that. I could not find enough reason to believe in it. And if you have, that is perfectly fine. Our
Mhm.
aim is not to deter you from the religion. Okay. Maybe you understand it in a different way. But
Mhm.
this question is about if you read it and saw that God just wasn't absolutely perfect like you would talk, or you had a different perspective. If you had never been told God was perfect, would you read the Bible and come to that conclusion on your own? Because nowhere does it say he's perfect. Nowhere does it say he makes every right decision. Um, but this is what's proclamated about this book before you even read it, right? That's why I call it poisoning the well.
Mhm.
That next comment brings me to this part two. It says emotional turmoil. Leaving a religion can be emotionally challenging. It may involve feelings of confusion, guilt, and fear. Letting go of beliefs that were once central to one's identity can bring about a sense of loss and isolation. It is not uncommon to experience a range of emotions, including sadness, anger, and grief. Now, I'll go first on that one. Um, Talked about the emotional turmoil that comes with leaving religion, and you having to undo a lot of beliefs that you have came to accept. And one of mine for me uh, may sound silly, but was the idea of heaven. Um, that was given to me early. I believed I would see my mother again. I believed I'd see all my loved ones again. That heaven was, in fact, paved with streets of gold, surrounded by gates of pearl, manned by angels with swords, that heaven was filled with mansions. I believed it all wholeheartedly, family, wholeheartedly. And so one of the things that really hurt me with religion was, if my God isn't true in the way I thought, then where do we go when we die? Is there a hell? And because these are central beliefs, family, that really turn into core beliefs and dictate how you live your life. Um, you can be stressed to all get out, believing that a loved one is going to hell, and that was very much me. So there was some freedom that came along with it, but there was also some pain because this idea of heaven isn't real, and I wanted that to be real. So a lot of people say, Kevin, you didn't want God to be real. No, I did. I wanted God very much to be real, because of this idea of heaven and whatnot. And maybe there is some place, but it's not the idea that we have been taught. When you study the Bible, you realize these concepts of heaven don't come into way later. And then I began to question some of the concepts of heaven. One of the things for me, Kat, was why does heaven seem to not be able to be described without using human concepts? This blew my mind because heaven is supposed to be before earth, right? And it wouldn't make sense to me that heaven is surrounded by gates made of pearl when pearl comes from the mouth of clams, right?
Right.
It wouldn't make sense to me that it's surrounded by that it's paved with streets of gold when gold is an earthly mineral, and a
Right.
spirit wouldn't have any use for that. It make no sense that heaven is filled with mansions, right? Everyone gets their own mansion. I
Mhm.
look at it like in this world, if everyone had their own mansion, I mean, that would be pretty cool, but it'd be pretty boring. Like nobody want to come to your house if they got a mansion
That's
too,
it.
right? I mean, so everyone gets their own mansion. And when you look at the size of the mansion, it literally comes up to the number 12. Okay. So, and I can show you guys all of that. 144,000 is supposed to go to heaven. This number is 9 in numerology. You add all those numbers up, it's a multiple of 3. The size of heaven comes out to a multiple of 3. Um, all these things seem to be based on astrology or numerology and not a real place. So yeah, it blew my mind, and just that's just the thing about heaven, just the things you see. But when you talk about the souls that's in heaven, they won't have memory. They won't be themselves. So when I put my thoughts into the idea of heaven, if you get to heaven and you don't remember the people who you loved who went to hell, then you are not the same person. You're not. You are this figment of a person. You understand? You're never go like if my mother didn't go to heaven and I go to heaven, I'll never miss her. I'll never think about her. You see how that would be very weird, right?
Yeah.
And then we talk about how you can just repent simply and go to heaven at the last minute, how these things seem okay. And I would think about how that would make no sense.
Mhm.
Regardless of what you spent your life believing in or what actions you spent your life doing, if at the last minute you can accept God into your life and go to heaven, wouldn't that be weird? You be in heaven with actually a Muslim who just claimed Christianity
Mhm.
or a murderer who just got forgiven at the last minute. So I look at these things and I'm like, okay, wait a second. We believe that this heaven is just this place, and if it is, I don't think that idea of heaven teaches people to have a moral code when you can just ask for forgiveness for what you do and then be able to still go to heaven,
Mhm.
right? And
Mhm.
it just makes no sense to me that
Right.
your own lack of forgiveness, that's what someone did to you, is just as deep as someone doing if you doing that to someone. So someone held you down and did the most egregious act to you, similar to what we talked about in that first scripture in Judges. They can go to hell for what they did to you. Absolutely, they held you down and they took something from you, right? But also, you can go if you don't forgive them for doing that. It makes to me that makes no sense because it seems that the God who says that what that person did to you was completely abominable and
Mhm.
deserving of punishment would also understand why you would be traumatized and likely hate that person who did that to you. But there seems to be no understanding for what they did to you,
Right.
and you will be judged if you don't forgive them. But what if you don't have the propensity or mental development to? You
Right.
see what I'm saying? It's unreal because you can't say the lack of forgiving someone is the same as offending someone.
Right.
Like you can't. That's not the same, but it's the same hell, right?
Right.
So what are your thoughts on that? What's something that you had a core belief on, a really strong belief, and then through your change in belief, you had to let a certain core belief go, see life differently?
Calling on the name of Jesus was hard for me because, you know, I'm Pentecostal, Southern Pentecostal. And that's the way to get saved. You have to call. And the old school way is not like the new school of church where you could just walk up to the altar and accept Jesus as your personal savior. You had to call, you had to shout, you had to spit up, you had to you until your mouth you when you think about it now, you know that your mouth was dry and the spit's gonna come, but that's where we had to do that, you know. And so once I started becoming aware, it was hard for me to continue to go to church and sing, and because I, you know, like I was the worship leader. I was the youth pastor. So the church starts off from me, you know. So for a while, I never stopped, you know, attending church until, you know, the COVID happened or whatever. I kept going. I kept going through the motions, but I felt guilty. And eventually I had to learn that according to who I am, movement is a part of healing, you know. So I might have been taught that when I feel good, the Holy Spirit jumped in my body, you know. But what happened was, now that I'm awake and aware, I know that at that moment, a group of individuals in one building had the same thought and the same mindset. And a person could be healed because a group of individuals came with the same mindset and the same thought, and that created an energy. And when that happens, it's like a lot of people don't realize that on the back of the ambulance and in every hospital, there's a symbol, and that snake is going around it. That's exactly, that's the symbol of that Kundalini energies. That's when all of your chakras, all of your organs, your glands come together on the same frequency in the same balance. And at that moment, everything is all right. You are all powerful. You do feel something. That's the power of your body, and that's all the energy. And so you're going to dance. That's why when you go, no matter where you go, when you find a group of us, there's a feeling. That's why when you came to the concert, in the midst of me being scared and aggravated and scared, aggravated, and going through, because my grandma was dying at the time, I could come inside myself, you know, and I could make you feel what I wanted you to feel. You get what I'm saying? Because I knew what I was doing, and I knew the purpose of what I was doing, you know. So when I started going back to church, people would say, the conscious community, the Black power, how you still go to church, and you can't be this, you can't be woke, and you still go to church. Well, there was a time where I wasn't woke. Somebody still has to tell the message, you know. Somebody still has to go back and say, you have to understand where that person is at that time, you know. And I can go to church, and if you say Jesus, it don't bother me, you know. If you say Allah, it don't bother me, you know, because I know what I'm doing and why I'm doing it for. You know, I know what I am, I know who I am, I know how I am. I feel like when I leave this realm, I'm going to go to an energy source of the energy that I gave out. So that's why they say it's important to balance your chakras and renew your mind by meditating and just be good to people. Because if you were to die today, if you're on that bad frequency and that lower frequency, you're going to a low frequency place. We don't know. Nobody knows. Nobody knows, you know. And because you don't know, why not just be good? Why not just be nice? You know, why not just be loving? Why bicker and argue over it? what we're doing is just telling you our experience. We're not telling you to do what we're doing. We're telling you our experience, just in case somebody who has gone through what we went through, this is what we did to overcome. You know, like I still love the book of Psalms. I still love Ecclesiastes. I still love Proverbs, you know, because you can take away from it, you know, what it is. But that was my hard part of, like, I don't want to call the name of Jesus because I don't know if that's the right name. Like when we found out there was no J's, you know, in the alphabet. So that can't be his name. And then it's like, you know, whoever, whoever, whatever,
Right.
you know my heart, you know, so I'm going to go in there, I'm going to sing. And if I call Jesus, the energy of Jesus come through, you know, like what we have to realize is whatever you observe grows. Whatever you think, that's why they said your mind is a powerful. If you can imagine, I imagine reinvention after religion. You know, I imagined that. And it took some time, but it's coming to fruition because I could see it first. So if you believe that Jesus is real, if you were to go to sleep tonight and you said, I want to see Jesus, you're going to see something. Because your brain is trying to give you what you are asking for. You have the ability to create whatever you want to create.
Right.
You know, so that was the part for me, that conflict of what should I still go? Should I call Jesus? God know your heart, the Most High, the energy, the source, the universe, whatever you want to call it, whatever. Just be good. You know what I'm saying? Like nobody knows the truth. Nobody can give you an answer. You got to do what's best for you. You know,
I look at it like, what if there isn't an answer?
Right.
You know, we beg a question and we think that there must be an answer. What if there isn't? You know, like you talked about it, knows the heart. Whatever it is, knows the heart, right?
Right.
So that doesn't say words. It's not language. It doesn't know your tongue. And that's because your tongue, your language is accepted in your social environment, right? So the way we communicate, we try and use that tongue to communicate with a heavenly or an entity that is outside of human understanding.
Right.
What if your tongue is not what you use to communicate with God at all?
Wow.
That's what we use to communicate with humans, and it's because we were taught to, you know. So you look at other animals in the world; they don't always communicate using sounds and noises and verbal frequencies like that. They use antenna, they use chemical stimuli, and they are able to. Whales are able to use these different tones and stuff to communicate with each other. And we don't expect that there must be some magic involved for them to be able to do that. However, when you spoke about being around people and feeling that connection with them and that energy from the within being channeled, and you can even bring about healing in yourself, where multiple minds are joined together as one. There I am also is a scripture that comes to mind. It shows how powerful we are, right? Not even so much as the people being around you being powerful, but the power in the mind, that if you believe in yourself, something does happen inadvertently in your body, right? If you have faith in something, something does inadvertently happen. Now we see this happening regardless of religious belief, that when people truly believe in something, something happens. So if this happens regardless of what you believe in, we have to remove the conduit, the what you're believing in, and focus on the person who is now creating this power inside of themselves. And it seems that regardless of what we believe in, we're able to create this power if we truly believe in what we're believing in, right? So I look at all of religions and religions iconography, such as crosses, ankhs, the star that you have behind you, all these different things that we use, I look at them as simply conduits, right? The only power that they have is the power that we give to them, right? And so we can all get up and walk, but if you're convinced that you need a crutch to walk, you will learn to walk with that crutch. The problem with that crutch is it will slow you down. It will inhibit your actual true movement. So I do believe that while we're able to have power with these conduits, that they do inhibit us just a bit. I do. I believe if we completely put them down, recognizing that the power is within, then we can heal ourselves with a thought. You know, we start talking about, you mentioned chakra earlier. We start talking about chakra, vibrating low, pineal gland. This is when the Christian or the religious people look at us as if we're being spooky, right? But these things can actually be found within you. These energy centers can literally be found using certain devices. So it's not like it's something that we're making up. right? We've seen other cultures, such as the Indian culture, the Asian culture, use this chakra system to heal many times. The meridian system, they know this system that you see them do the pins and needles in the body,
Yeah.
and you can see that something acupuncture.
Yeah.
Absolutely, what they're doing is they're finding those energy centers in your body. So we know that we have far more than organs. We are very complex individuals, and throughout history, people have dedicated their lives to the study of that. And what happened is a lot of what they found was taken and put in religious books. So a lot of the understanding that we had about ourselves is now being tainted with religion. And so the things that we would have known and had access to, we now can only access if we accept a religion. But I found that we can do these things even without religions, right? So whether you call on the name of who you believe in or not, if you believe in the inner God, the inner power, you can summon that power. However, that becomes something that we do to, that help out this process. We kind of talk to. So I'm with you 100%. It doesn't matter what name you call it. It doesn't matter. On the flip side, you know what you're trying to do. You know what you're trying to invoke. You know what you're trying to vibrate to. You know what you're trying to summon. So whatever name you call on, I don't care if you call on the spirit of Goku. If you know that Goku transforms, if you know that he looks out for his people, he is a representative of the sun, just as our Greek gods and stuff are. So what we notice is the farther you go back, we tend to deify imagination and liking them to gods and being real beings. Today, if we make up characters, we'll just call them superheroes, right? We'll just call them characters. But the further you go back, they get made into gods. I mean, if you go back, there was no word for hero. So Zeus and all these Hermes and all these gods would be heroes. They would be superheroes, so they just called them gods back then. I don't know if you saw the movie. You saw the movie Hancock, right?
Yeah. With
Will Smith, yeah. So Will Smith is talking about how people have saw them throughout history, right? And he says they used to think we were gods, right? And then they thought we were angels. And now they look at us as like heroes, right? So you see how the human mind relates, right? If a person could fly 1,000 years ago, he's a god. If a man could just walk on water, Jesus never flew. He's still a god, right? So this is how we looked at it. These people are us, though.
Yeah.
When you understand these books, Jesus is you. Jesus is many characters in the Bible. He's Solomon. It's Samson. It's the same story retold, and then you get it retold, of course, in the character of Jesus. It's who we are. It's us. So you are Jesus going through the zodiac or going through your trials and tribulations to ultimately rise and become a new person who changes the world outside of yourself. But first, you change it within. So Jesus is a character who changes himself within, rises to a certain place in life. He's being questioned by people around him because of his views, because his views are different from the world around him. Okay, so even the world that God seemingly put in place, Jesus questioned and challenged that world. Stoning women, Jesus had a different view of that. And if Jesus is the Son of God or is God in the flesh, why does he have a different view? These things really boggled people in the narrative of the Bible, in the literature of the Bible. They questioned if Jesus could truly be the Son of God. How many times do we speak against things that seem to be accepted in our world? And they say we're wrong because the whole world seemingly does it. We're saying it's wrong now because we can sense something deeper. And so I look at the modern day Jesus as being people who are born in an era where there are truly evil and desensitized things happening. But that young child, that person, that spirit, male or female, can sense that something is wrong, even if they haven't been taught it was wrong. They just have a better antenna. They're sensitive. I was like that. I grew up in a household that had an old school style of raising you. Okay. You shut up. You don't talk back to your elders. If they think that you're doing something, you did it. Don't say you didn't. If they think you look sneaky, they can treat you like you sneaky.
Right.
If they think you look like you a steal or that you fast, they can treat you like that. I knew this was inherently wrong, even though I was never taught how you're supposed to raise children. I knew it was wrong. So while I can see a lot of my siblings and stuff grow up and recreate that for their children, I never did because I just knew, man. I just knew it was wrong. I didn't need someone to teach me it was wrong. I knew that when I grew up, I would not teach my children like that, And this has happened in most places in my life. I'm able to look at how people do things and say that ain't right, even if it's acceptable, even if that's the way we do things. That don't lead to a good outcome, And that what you call it, indigo child spirit, that brilliant mind, or that sensitivity that I've had towards that is what makes me liken to a Jesus, And so when people see that, that person generally does compel people to have more insight, speak in a way that enlightens people to see the problem with their own contributions to the society we live in. If we grow up and we get taught that a certain behavior is okay and we all contribute to it, we may be the very reason our world is messed up and not even know it. So
Right.
it takes those brilliant minds who can see the problem before you get 20 years down the road to experience the problem. They can see it ahead of time. You call them prophets. They're way more sensitive than most people, and they can see those things.
Right.
You know, it seems to be supernatural, but in fact, it isn't. It's something that we all have the ability to do, you know. So I think that was great what you said. I want to speak to the next thing. It says cognitive dissonance. As individuals reassess their beliefs, they may experience cognitive dissonance, the mental discomfort that arises when there is a conflict between existing beliefs and new information or perspectives. It can be unsettling to confront ideas that challenge deeply ingrained religious beliefs. Now, I know we've all been there, and many of us are there now. You can be in religion or out of religion for several years, and you don't truly believe in it. You don't believe in it really at all, but it's very difficult for you to accept that you don't believe in it. So you'll still say you do. You may even still go to church from time to time. And when people say certain things that completely disagree with the Bible, even though you somewhat don't believe in it either, it bothers you. This is cognitive dissonance. It's because somewhere you still hold core beliefs, even though you can't rationally explain those beliefs. It's why a lot of atheists still fear hell. It's a very scary thing to know you don't have a belief, but still be kind of bound by it. It's like, do you guys believe that movies are real? You would say no. But would you jump in front of the mirror and say Candyman 5 times or 3 times or how many times you're supposed to say it? And now you start to say, okay, why is there this inherent irrational fear to get in the mirror and say this if I don't really believe in Candyman, if I don't really believe he'll show up? I mean, you see what I'm saying? Like this character was really made up before the scene happens, they go, action, right? And after the scene, they go, cut, right? And they put these scenes together and make a movie out of it.
Right.
However, we watch this movie and we're so compelled by this movie, we will not get in the mirror and say that.
Mhm.
That is okay. I don't believe in the movie, but somehow it's had an impact on me that I really don't want to admit. You see what I'm saying? So I might tell my brother, you better not go in the mirror and say Candyman 5 times. You crazy.
Right.
But I know that makes no damn sense, right?
I
Nothing's going to happen when you do that. But it's still this fear. You can't make up for it.
Right.
What do you think?
I'm not going in the mirror and saying Candyman. So won't, especially not by myself. I just no.
But don't you deep down know that makes absolutely no sense?
Right.
The fear that you genuinely have for that it's not rational.
Right.
Because you know on the other side it'd be absolutely ridiculous if Candyman really showed up, right?
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But it's still, you're like, I still ain't testing it. I ain't trying it. It ain't worth it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That just proves how much someone can psychologically inhibit you, all right, or you know, or stagnate you. You know what I mean?
It's like when you tie that elephant, you know, that you might tie, when they train the elephant, they tie them to like a little stick, you know. When that elephant's bigger, they can really move, but because they've been trained to believe that that thing can hold me, they don't even try.
They don't even pull against the stick. They if they forgot about the stick and string, they would pull it out of the ground just by taking a step. They would not even have to put up real resistance to pull this little stake out of the ground.
Right.
And wherever their leader or master plants this stick, they remember the distance in that rope and they don't go as far from that stick. It's just like the fleas that you put in a jar. When you screw that jar on the top and their head hits that jar, they adjust their jumping. And once you take that lid off, they never get it back. They never, ever, ever get it back. And that's likewise with that elephant. That elephant now, when it's grown, even though its food does not have to be hunted, elephant does not have to chase its food down, it will still starve to death. It will not know how to find its food. It will not, it don't know where it is. The elephant would not know what it eats if you don't leave it to nature to learn from the get-go. And neither do we. So we start to look at these animals and we say, okay, are we similar? Yes. Would the human know what food was if they didn't tell us? I mean, if you ask yourself, family, what does your diet consist of? What do I wake up and eat? Is it the food from the food pyramid? Do you eat breakfast for breakfast, lunch for lunch, and dinner for dinner? So if you wake up seeking eggs and pork, then you got to believe that you are manipulated. You're manipulated into believing that that's what you should eat the first thing of the day, right? We go inside the stores all the time and buy cereal, chips. We don't look at the back of the bag. We trust the food because we grew up eating it. right? Now, if you walk through a forest and go and said, I'm going to go find some food, now you're going to be in there scratching your head.
Right.
Because like what is food, right? Like this is how you show how you can see that even though we can see a zooed animal, go and observe that zooed animal, we are yet in zoos. We are zooed animals. We are
Right.
not our actual true selves because we have been domesticated just like those animals, right? Now they don't put our food in bowls and slide it in front of us and we eat it, but they put it in boxes. We go get it and put it in bowls and slide it in
Right.
front of us and eat it.
Right.
You know, like you think about our dogs and cats and things like that. You give them their food. It's these little meow mix or this Alpo mix that got different shapes and things like that. That dog doesn't care. Little dog
Yep.
bones as shapes, and then as the cat is little fishes. Cat doesn't care, right?
Nope.
If the cat never ate a fish, it doesn't know that that fish is something that it eats. That shape of a fish is something that it eats.
Yeah.
But it's eating the taste. So inside of all of that mutton, whatever you want to call it, there is corn, right? There's beef, there's chicken. If you look on the back of the box or bag, it'll tell you that it has some ingredients in it.
Right.
But what you're giving your kid is some kibbles and bits, or what you're giving your dog is some kibbles and bits and things of that nature.
Right.
Well, likewise, we are the exact same. Okay. And so that blows my mind when I look at it and say, so what would we be capable of if we weren't like this elephant staked to the ground, or we weren't like that flea, shut up into a jar? In what ways have our consciousness been broken? In what ways have our abilities been broken? Because we are not who we could be. And that's why I say it's religion means to bind or tie up. The stake in the grass for us is religion, is social stigma, social acceptance, what relationships should look like. All these things we get as a child taught to us stagnates our growth and our mind. It keeps us from being unified. We do not know that we are not a people who's supposed to go to convenience stores and get food. We are people who's supposed to work together to survive, just like ants. Imagine ants being isolated to believe that they're supposed to go get their food on their own. They, as strong as they are by comparison to other animals by size, they would fail. They would die because they actually are a symbiotic beast. They need each other. They can't be out here on their own. Humans are really the same way, but we're out here trying to survive on our own, taking pride in being independent. When the actual thing was to take pride in being codependent. But we don't have enough vulnerability for that. You know, if we were in a tribe, Cat, whether or not me and you got along, I need you for the food. I need you to help find food. You need me to help find food. So we would never stop working together, even if we disagreed, because our access to survival is dependent upon each other. But if you put us in a matrix where we seem to not need each other, if I don't like you, I'll never say another word to you again. You see how that works?
Yeah.
And so it breaks down our social environment. It breaks down us evolving overall because we don't even know who we are. And that's what makes us so enslaved, because we don't know who we are. But this is done through social engineering. So the elephant has been socially engineered. So has the flea, so has the dog. And I wonder, like the dog, can we ever go back to being the wolf? Can we ever go back to being a wolf, willing to howl at the moon and not care who we offend, right? Because we have become domesticated humans, and we call ourselves humans now, but I don't know who we were before that. You know, and I believe that religion is a big part of that. And while it's difficult to let go, I think we got to challenge ourselves to let that go, because none of us were born with it. None of us were. It is man-made. It is put together through man-made criteria. No God ever gave us a book. No God ever spoke into our mind that we should do things all in this certain way. But we have accepted this, right? If you are in Hinduism, you believe your God is of the Bhagavad Gita, and you think that all you guys have to live out of this one book. If you're Christian, it's the same. If it's Islamic, it's the same. And I believe what they've done is they've divided us. So even if we do have a belief, it doesn't really set us free, because it actually divides us from other people. Until we can take on something that can completely unite us, and we won't be separated through thought, I don't believe we'll truly be connected. So I do see how religion and things like that can destroy us. However, I also can see how religion and reading these same books can empower us. So I would never say put the books down, while I would say kill the religion. The books give us perspective, man. It gives us philosophy. Like you said earlier, Kat, you started going back to church and ministering to your peers via church, even though you may not have the same thoughts through and through. You know that it's a need for that. Likewise, I love the Bible, even though I don't believe in it. I love the Quran.
Mhm.
I love these books. It good reads. They challenge my mind, and maybe it's because of my nature. I'm a philosopher. I
Right.
love reading ancient thought. I love it. I've always been that way, So while I've always loved the Bible because that's what I believed in, I've always loved reading what any ancient person said about philosophy. So
Right.
when it comes to like Plato and all these different people, you'll find me quoting all these people because they lived for a certain amount of years on Earth at a different time frame than us, and based on what they assessed, they came to these thoughts and ideas. I think it's beautiful. So I learn a lot from these guys.
Mhm.
So still read it, still apply the things you learn from it, but don't allow it to cap your mind and your ability to think, your ability to see more. So that's what I would say. Um, Let me see. I got another thing I wanted to mention here, and I'll just mention these next little few, and we'll talk about them. Number 5 is building a new identity. Leaving religion often involves redefining one's identity. This process can be empowering and liberating as individuals, and have the opportunity to shape our values, beliefs, and purpose based on our own critical thinking and personal experiences. Number 5, navigating relationships. Leaving religion can strain relationships, particularly with friends, family, and community members who may still be deeply invested in their religious beliefs. There may be tension, misunderstandings, and even rejection. Finding balance can finding balance between authenticity and maintaining meaningful connections can be challenging. Before I move on to the next one, I want to talk about that a bit because you can find yourself in a position of being fake to your family members, and this can bleed into how you see yourself. You may feel that you shouldn't do that. Um, you may judge others for doing that, and I think in those moments, that's when truly challenging your character comes into play. Are you going to tell your family and friends what you truly believe, regardless of how they treat you, or are you going to withhold that so you can kind of keep them around you? I wouldn't criticize anybody who chose to do the latter. While I did do that when I first left religion. I did do that because I saw it as heartless. I saw it as being fearful. I saw it as being fake. That you would go to church and say you believe in something and you don't.
Right.
Um, but now I understand why you would do that. I do because I understand what loss feels like. I understand what the emptiness of having a true, genuine friendship and relationship looks like, and I understand why claiming how you truly feel can leave you truly lonely. I
Mhm.
can understand that. So I can see why some people say, you know what, let me just not tell this person how I truly feel about it because I don't want to lose them. And I
Right.
don't want to be criticized. I don't want to be judged. I don't want to be threatened. I don't want to be treated worse because of my belief system, right? Um,
Right.
when you shared your belief system, or when you're around certain people, like I'll give you an example. For myself, back in the day, if you ask me if I believe in it, I'm going to tell you no, regardless. I didn't care where we were, right?
Mhm.
But the last time I was on an airplane, someone was sitting beside me and they was talking about how powerful my spirit was and how they could feel an aura on me. And this is halfway through the flight. They just wanted to tap me and tell me, right? This
Mhm.
guy, white guy, and he begins to talk about how much he loved the Lord and Jesus or whatever. And I didn't take the time to tell him I didn't believe in it.
Right. Right.
I felt like it wasn't appropriate. I
Right.
felt like he wanted to share with me. He was happy about his beliefs. Um, and he didn't necessarily need that. A part of it was like you can lead the horse to water, but you can't make him drink, and
Right.
kind of let people be where they are in their journey. I have this new understanding now that some people are just not going to see it your way. That maybe their purpose on this earth, this lifetime, isn't for that, and maybe they're not willing to do that in this lifetime. Um, an example I give is the distance to the sun would take over a lifetime to reach it, right? So if you were to in this lifetime try and travel to the sun, based on how far they say the sun is away, you would never make it. Your lifetime would end before you made it to the sun, right?
Mhm.
Some people would say that means it's irrelevant. Don't even do it then because you'll never make it, right?
Right.
I think that's how some people see us.
Mhm.
Our knowledge, the gap between who we are based on our knowledge and research to them feels like the distance to the sun. And
Right.
I think that they are very discouraged when it comes to can they close that gap? Because I've been sitting around so many people in my life, and their idea of me is that I know everything. When my idea of me is that I know very little. And
Right.
every single day I'm trying to learn more. And I actually feel bad if a day goes by and I didn't learn something. And I'm talking about I spend nearly every day seeking new knowledge. And so if all I'm getting is what I've already heard, I feel bad by that, you know.
Right.
So I'm in constant chase of knowledge, and I constantly feel dumb. I constantly feel challenged because something I'm learning is being disrupted. So I don't feel that I know everything.
Right.
So but I do understand how someone who never challenges themselves, all they do is listen to hip hop and go shake their booty and watch Love and Hip Hop. Not to criticize them, everybody can choose what they want in life.
Yeah.
But if they're not the type of person who pours themselves into philosophy and learning and things of that nature, they will see you as somebody who's just out of reach.
Right.
You know? And so I think that we have to just accept that those people exist, right? They're never
Right.
going to see it your way. So leave them alone. It's almost like, why take the time to try and teach somebody something they don't even want to learn? Like,
Right.
they don't even have the willpower to take that information on. Before you go, I want to tell a quick riddle that there was a lion and a donkey having a debate about the color of the grass. Have you ever heard this riddle?
No.
I think this right here will give you guys a lot of insight. So there's a lion and a donkey arguing about the color of the grass. The donkey says that the grass is green, right? The donkey says the grass is blue. The lion says it's green. Okay, so they get in this debate over is the grass green or blue. So they said, let's go ask the all-seeing turtle, the one who knows all, right? They're God, so to speak. So they go on this journey to find this person to ask him this question. The donkey gets to him first, and so the lion's going to let him speak. The donkey talks to the turtle, and he says, the lion seems to think that the grass is green and not blue. Can you make sure that you punish this lion for not being able to recognize the color of the grass? And this turtle, this God, so to speak, punishes this lion. The lion is very offended by that. So the lion asks for an opportunity to speak. And he says to this turtle, why would you punish me? And you know the grass is green. The turtle says to the lion, I didn't punish you because I know the grass is green. It is green. I punished you because you as a lion should never be caught arguing with a donkey.
Wow.
And you would waste your time in trying to argue about something that you know is true. Wow. And you would also go on a journey to find me and bother me with that ridiculous question. So what I found, that sounds, it's like another scripture in the Bible. Like, why would you punish him because of that? But if you think about it, the time that you spend arguing with somebody about a belief that they're never going to come to because they just don't want to, ain't you hurting yourself? I mean, isn't that punishment for yourself? Because couldn't you be somewhere doing something productive and growing?
He says it too. Like, I was told not to argue with fools because people from a distance can't tell who is who. And like, I've had that same thing happen to me multiple times. Like, I could tell by a person's actions how they about to, come to me.
Absolutely.
I had I have my t-shirts with the hashtag no religion and freedom plus love equals peace on the back. And I was in Walmart checking out, and the guy, he walked past and he read the shirt. And then he came back and walked past again. And I said, oh boy, here we go. And by the time I checked out, he said, excuse me, sister, can I ask you a question? I said, sure. Do you believe Jesus is your personal savior? He died and rose again. I said, yes, I do. That's all I wanted to know. And I kept walking. Like, it's no point. Like, you're not going to win. All that's going to do is just is going to make you feel some type of way, make him feel some type of way, make him angry. And for my like, for example, for my grandfather passed away at 84. All he knows is Jesus. My grandmother just passed away going on 2 years. That's all she knew was Jesus. I would never come to you and say, grandma, such and such, or better yet, not even on religion. I know how to not pay bills, but I would never try to teach this to an elder because it's too much. You have to really unlearn and to say, this is not how you do it. You can take this and it's simple once you get it, but they don't have that capacity because their life is good to teach the generation coming behind, but they're too far along. They won't be able to grasp it. So it's certain things if you know how to do it and you can help in some way, then okay, if I can go get my grandma that is still alive, this trailer, absolutely free, and let her enjoy fine. But I can't tell her, okay, grandma, this is how you gonna do it. I would have to go do that for her, And other than that, just let people be. And that's the whole point of this whole thing, is just let people be.
Right.
It's
true. So someone commented there and says That's what it says in the Bible. Don't throw your pearls to swine. That's one of the things, Nadine, that I love about the Bible is it has these amazing parables and amazing quotes that you can take with you in life and apply them to your life. While it has some things in there that you absolutely would detest, it has some amazing, beautiful, thought-provoking things in it, such as every other religion. And that's what I love about the human mind. It's like while it can be chaotic and poisonous things can come from this mind, absolutely amazing things can come from this mind. And the Bible is filled up with thousands and thousands of years of ideas from human beings. And that's why I think it's a holy book. That's why I think the Quran is a holy book, not because it points to their ideas actually being true, but they were profound in the way that they challenge us to think. And some of us come to those same amazing ideas even without that literature. So that scripture right there, don't cast your pearls to swine, is summed up in that last thing I said. And I didn't use the same words at all. I think that's absolutely magnificent. I can find many scriptures in the Bible that hold true to today, but it doesn't make the Bible true. And that's what I try to explain to people. I can quote you scriptures from the Quran that'll blow your mind. And no Christian would say that's a bad quote. But if I told you it came from the Quran, then it would be like, well, come on now, let's not do that. Right? Right. So like this next one, it says, seeking support. It is important for individuals leaving religion to find support and a sense of community. Connecting with like-minded individuals, joining secular or atheist organizations, or seeking therapy can provide an invaluable support during this transition. So for a lot of you guys who are struggling with this, it says seeking support. And I don't know if that's something you ever thought about doing. I don't know if you've ever really likened your past belief system to something that was a trauma, right? And thought maybe I need therapy through that. But I have this book called The Emotional Terrorizer. And I encourage you guys to go to Amazon and get that book. It is amazing. Okay. I have a chapter in this book that's called The Makings of an Emotional Terrorizer. And in this chapter, I talk about parents and how they raise us to be emotional terrorizers via emotionally terrorizing us. Okay. So I talk about how it is as a child to be raised by a parent who criticizes all the time, who highlights your flaws all the time, who puts you down all the time, and how these thoughts can bleed into how you see yourself, and they can shape your personality, making you anxious in social situations and all of that stuff, right? So they ask, what is my guest name? Her name is Kween Katt. Please follow her on all platforms right now if you can. She's absolutely amazing. I also posted in here a link, family. I think that link is to the book. Is that correct, Kat? Is that link to the pre-order the book? That is in here. So guys, hit that link if you want to pre-order the book, Reinvention After Religion. It's not on Amazon yet. You have to pre-order it from the site that's on that link, guys. But that book is being published right now, so we'll have that out to you guys ASAP. Sorry for the delay. Okay, but we are getting that done as soon as possible to you guys and whatnot. But I was saying that we can see how when you grow up in an environment that is very toxic, it can shape your morals, and you won't realize how toxic you are, right? Because you're used to this treatment. So the moment that you realize that you could be an emotional terrorizer, you criticize your spouse all the time, that you always find something that's wrong instead of something that's right and beautiful, you could be a real problem. And if you grew up being emotionally terrorized, you can end up with a person who's heavily critical, and you may not even know it. You don't even know your value and that you shouldn't be being treated this way because your mama treated you this way. Your daddy antagonized every little damn thing you did. You know, and that's not nurturing. That's not seeing the best in each other. That's not uplifting each other. It's terroristic, guys. And so, like, when it comes to religion, if you find yourself being in religion and you release yourself from those ideas surrounding religion, you may in fact need therapy. You may have been brought up in an environment that made you to be a certain way that's causing you to ruin your life. You know, for me, I recognize that, and it's not necessarily in toxic ways because I was a good Christian. I treated people nice. I learned these moral codes and ran with them, family. So you're not going to find me doing a lot of things that contradicts the Bible, but the things I'm doing that are inherently in line with the Bible was limiting my life. And one of those is prayer. Okay. So I was taught that if you believe with all your might and you are concise and you are emotional and vulnerable with God, that God will honor your prayer. That if you pay your tithe, God will honor your prayer. But what I learned in life is these things are not true at all. They're not true. You can pay your tithe and your life still be very much in poverty. That is not a way to lead to financial success. It just does not work that way. That scripture, though, isn't a lie. You will lie too about the scripture. So you were never actually told to put your money into a collection plate and you will be blessed, shaken down, pressed together, and running over. So it's a lie. So what will happen is you'll find yourself doing these things, believing that they should lead to a positive outcome, and they won't. God never said it if you believe in the Bible. Okay, so when it talked about you getting back, pressed down, shaken together, and running over, it was being literal and it was referring to seeds. So this is talking to a farmer. And most of the Bible's parables are about farming or in nature, family. So it was never saying bring your money to a church. Money wasn't invented. There was no money, family. So money was food. It says bring your bread and meat to the storehouse. Guess what it's talking about when it says that, family? Bread and meat. But your preacher will try and confuse you and make you believe that it's deeper than that. Bread and meat means money and coin. No, it don't. It mean bread and meat. That's what you had. You brought it to the storehouse so that people could eat. That's what it says, so that others could eat that don't have food, right? So here's how you can be tricked into believing that prayer is a way to a positive outcome. You pray for something and don't do anything to lead to the positive outcome. That can stagnate you heavily because you're asking for these things. You have a strong desire to have these things, but you're not doing anything in reality to accomplish the thing. So I had to go through a therapeutic moment in my life and reassess what I thought and what prayer was going to be to me. So instead of that being an act of the tongue, talking to God, it's an act of the doing, using your body. So instead of me saying, God, I want this thing, or God, will you please give me this thing? I shut my mouth and act like my body is my tongue. And I make my request to God or the universe by doing the thing to get that. To me, I call that being honest with God. I think that when we are taught to use our words, which are very cheap when it comes to proving something, they're great for communication, but we say talk is cheap, right? And actions speak loud, right? So talking ain't really good for manifesting, right? It's good for me to get a thought from my head into yours, right? Because you speak English. That's really the only reason. If you didn't speak English, there'd be a gap there. So now how would I talk to you, right?
Right.
So I would have to do some things. You'll notice if I can talk with my hands like this, because I know you understand me, right? But if you don't speak English, I'm going to start using my body and try to, I'm going to try to like, soda.
The dog roof.
Right, I have to work a lot harder. Well, you guys got to work a lot harder with God. It's not as easy to just go to the universe and make your requests known. Your requests are in your sacrifices. This is how you talk to God. So I had to undo that and say, doing is praying. I swear to you, doing is praying. Because it said in the scripture, right? It rains on the just and the unjust. So I'm like, okay, if I till my garden and I plant my seeds, now I've done the work. I've communicated with God or the universe that I want a garden. This is how I speak. Because if I just say it, my garden, my ground don't get tilled and seeds don't get planted, right? So when it rains, it'll just be raining on the grass. So there's something I must do if I want a garden. And guess what? I never have to say I want a garden. So I often say when you're talking to God, shut up. I know that makes no sense, right? But from my logic, it makes perfect sense. Shut your mouth when you're talking to God, right? They say, shut up while God is talking. No, while you talking to God, you shut up.
Right. Right.
It sounds funny, right?
Right.
But so if I plant my seeds, right, and the axe murderer next door tills his gardens and plants his seed, when it rains, doesn't it rain on the just and the unjust?
Right.
Because that axe murderer's garden is not linked to his moral code, is it?
Exactly.
Actually, those bodies he got buried in his backyard might make his stuff grow faster. You see what I'm saying? So you start realizing, wait a second, regardless of my intent, my actions are always going to speak louder, right? So even if I have good intent, if I don't use my actions, there'll be a negative outcome, even if I have good intent. But even if I have bad intent, if I do positive things, positive will come. So the things I accumulate in my life is not due to my moral code. It's due to my laziness, my ability to sacrifice. Your moral code is more so what's going to allow you to keep and hold on to those things, right? So me amassing a lot of wealth in life is not due to how good of a person I am, but me hanging on to that wealth is. Does that make sense? If I get up and I work my butt off every single day to amass this wealth, whether I'm a good person won't be relevant, but it will be relevant on whether or not I keep that wealth, right? Because once I get that wealth, whether I'm a good person or not, it's going to show, right? Exactly. And if I'm a bad person, I'm going to do some things with that money that's going to show that I'm a bad person, right? That could cause me to lose everything I ever worked for, right? So morals do matter, but not when it comes to manifesting your reality. It doesn't. What matters is discipline, and you got to get your butt up and go get it. What I found with religion is saying you're a Christian, saying you're a Muslim, saying you are a Hindu gives you this extra character boost. You get to feel a little bit better about yourself because you're claiming a belief. but that's not always in alignment with your doing. And your doing is the only thing that you can really hold as a trophy, right? I'm going to get awards and rewarded based on my doing, not my thinking, right? I only prove my character based on my thinking. I can think, based on my doing, I can think some crazy stuff that you'll never have access to my thoughts. But the only way you're going to know me, Kat, is by my actions. That's why they say a tree is known by its fruit, right? So you can't know anything I didn't act on. I could be thinking the craziest stuff in my mind right now, and you never know. Ain't that wild?
Right.
So we know.
Like you said, people might look at you and say, well, he got 2 wives.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just because of your swag, you know, like it's not just because of money. You had to present the idea to the people, you know, and you had to prove that you could handle 2 of them, and you could be responsible to take care of 2 women and children and the home and whatever else needs to be done. You had to do something for these 2 women to trust you, you know. So you have a man that might not have that prayer instinct and just feel like I should because I look good, or because I got a ding-a-lang, you know. Everybody just, you know, like there's a lot of men that believe that just because I got it, that makes me man. They don't see that work that goes behind all of that, you know. For example, I didn't know how I would have a wedding with my wife, but I knew that she deserved one, you know. And I didn't know how our families was gonna come, but hey, once I got the nerve, okay, let's go find a venue. Let's go create some reservations. And you send it out to one person, and next thing you know, why I ain't get no invite? Why I ain't get no invite? Why? We had a big, beautiful wedding. I didn't think my mother was going to come, but she came. My mother is an apostle, you know, so that was like huge. So I didn't know how any of these things were going to happen, but I did something. I prayed about it, like how you said, by going and doing the work. I didn't know how I was going to get Kev down here. You know, I didn't know how I was going to do any of the stuff that I did, but I reached out. Hey, would you mind coming to such and such and such? Okay, this is what it's going to take. Okay, cool. Okay, that didn't fall through. I'm going to plan another one. You know, I didn't just say, oh, no, I had this with Kevin Wesley. You know, if you go down my resume, you'll see that I drew the first lecture of Young Pharaoh. I don't know how to do none of that stuff. Derek Grace. All these people are multimillionaires now. You know, if you go back, you'll see that I'm in there somewhere, you know, and it was all because I did something. I reached out. I talked to them. I took my money. I saved my money. I fell behind and I put it into this so that I could make what I saw become a reality. You have to do the work. And that's a lot of what we are saying when it comes down to religion. Religion teaches you to stay on your knees. Religion teaches you to wait on the Lord. You know, no, you got to do. If I tarry, you know, if I tarry,
be in constant prayer.
Yeah.
Be in constant prayer. That means in constant doing, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So but we thinking that it's like, if I just pray and I got a good heart and I treat people good, I'm the sweetest person that you will ever meet, but baby, I was broke a long time. You know, just because I'll give and give and give. And in me and your conversation, like, you shut my mouth real quick, you know, when you talked about how to deal with people in need and homeless people and how you can help them by not always giving in to their need. If nobody did it, then they're gonna have to do something, you know. But because I got a good heart and that's what the Lord said,
right?
You know, I'll give my last and then I don't have nothing to eat because I'm trying to help somebody who I feel is in lesser than, you know, who's lesser than I am, or not lesser than I am, but has less than I have, you know. So,
and what happens from that is you get a good feeling from that, right?
Again,
when you do that and you help that person, you get a good feeling from that, because you feel like a good person because you help someone less fortunate than yourself. But your immediate life does not get better. And so most believers believe that religion leads to a good feeling, not a good outcome. So most Christians are not wealthy. Most Christians are struggling. In fact, in each church, the one who's probably doing the best is the preacher. The givers, their life looks pretty much the same. So they can have a life full of giving their tithe every single month and things like that, but they will not see an immediate increase in their life. So that's why I say if believers everywhere understood that, okay, God never asked you to put your money into a plate in this way. However, you are receiving right information from this church, even if it's a preacher, if it is making your life and family better, if you can make applicable what this man is saying and your life is benefiting from it, you should most definitely put something in that pot. I mean, you go there just like everybody else. Light bills got to be paid, so we understand that.
Right.
So we would never say you should never give to your organization that you find that you're going to. You taking your butt down there and learning. You put something in there to keep it going. I mean, come on, now let's be real. But if you understood it's not about giving 10% of your income every week or you're cursed, now you can take that 10% of your income and you can invest that into a business that suits you, right? And then you think about, if I had 10% of my income back that I gave them, what would I be able to do with it now? You understand? So I think what should have been happening is teaching us how to save and reinvest our money in ways that benefit our community and ourselves so that we can be a greater blessing to our churches. But the church is thinking of themselves first. So I can see how these things in the Bible can be manipulated to use people. And to me, that's just not right. So that's why I say, if I had my own church, Kween Katt, I would teach my people about the doing. I would teach them about the sacrifice to getting what you ultimately want. And that there is a sacrifice. You got to believe that. Even the Bible itself shows you that the conduit between God and man was a fleshly body. The word became flesh. So if you have ideas, that's the word, because God is the unseen, the invisible. If you have ideas and goals and dreams and a vision, that is the unseen. How do you make that real? The word must become flesh. If you ain't doing what you're seeing, you're a liar. And that's why I always try to tell people this. If I say I want to get in shape, but I am not dieting and working out, I'm a liar.
Right.
Okay. If I say I believe in working out, but I don't work out, do I get the results from working out?
Nope.
So if I say I believe in God, but I don't apply anything, I mean, what results come with that? Right. But in our world, they must be a good person because they believe in God. If I don't believe in God, then I'm a bad person, right?
Right.
So, and that's why I say the problem is not your beliefs, it's in your doing. Whether I believe that working out leads to a positive outcome or not, if I work out, I'll get the positive outcome, right? So if I don't believe in working out, if I work out, I still get the results. So you see how intent means nothing?
Right.
You see, so, and you can also see how doing is everything. Because if I want to get in shape, I don't even have to believe in working out.
Right.
I just got to get up and do it. That's all, right? I just got to diet. I just have to control what I eat. I can lose weight if I just get depressed and stop eating. So I don't have to be thinking diet, right? So I know my life is linked to my doing. So if I can become more in control of that, if my mind, and don't let my emotions keep me from the doing. If I wake up this morning and I say, I don't feel 100%. If I can fight through that and still get up and do what I'm supposed to do anyway, I have my goals a lot sooner. So what I try and say is, we got to find that balance between defeating that spiritual man. That spiritual man is a part of yourself. It has the goal and the dream. But your fleshly man, the devil, right, will always contend with your godly man, right, or your godly vision. So wherever you go to do good, there's evil always present, right? So as soon as you tell yourself, I'm going to wake up in the rise and start working out. In the rise, your body's going to tell you that you're tired. Your body's going to tell you that you don't feel 100%. Your body's going to tell you there's always tomorrow. Your body's going to tell you that the weather is bad. Your body's going to tell you that you woke up with an ache of pain. You will find a reason to not go work out. Right. So what you have to do is ignore your body, right? Because it's the devil. It's the liar, right? And you get up and you force your body to do the work. Now, again, Nadine said, Kevin, wouldn't this be common sense? Yeah, if we were applying that, right? And I believe that in some forms it's common sense. But the problem is our beliefs can even override our common sense, because I've seen Christians pray to lose weight. I've seen them do it. I've seen them do it and have faith that they'll lose weight. I've seen Christians pray for healing. Now you might say, well, dang, what's wrong with praying for healing? Because you're supposed to do your healing, right? Kween Katt talked about taking these vitamins. She talked about doing these things to heal her body, right? This is how you heal your body. You know your body heals itself, actually, right? So you're born actually having all knowledge. As they say, God has all knowledge. What we call knowledge is data, right? So we call trees and language and history knowledge. right? We call that knowledge. That's crazy. We call that knowledge. That's data. That feeds your brain. That's just one part of yourself. You're actually born with all knowledge. You know how to send your blood throughout your whole body. You know how to heal yourself from cutting. You know how to make your bones grow. Trust me, you know how to survive without needing anyone. You do.
Right.
You may not have this knowledge in your brain, but it's in your DNA. So you have this knowledge, family, right? So because your body is constantly healing itself, what we got to do is get out of the way of it, right? So if you start putting the things in your body that are right for your body will take control of it and start healing you. But if you're putting poisonous things in your body, the reason that your body is not healed is because of you. You understand? Because of what you have came to the acceptance of, that's food, right? And that's the knowledge that we think we have. The knowledge that we have is what we think is food. But that knowledge is killing our body because what we're eating is not food. Now, if you want to talk about common sense, let's talk about common sense. Humans are called Homo sapiens, sape. Now, I'm going to say sape over and over because ape is in that word, right? You look at every other animal in the world. You look at apes. Look at how they are built. They have 5 fingers, 5 toes. If we don't shave and we don't groom, we will see how much we have in common with these beings. But we live in a world that consistently lie to ourselves, right? That we have so much in common with these beings. So when we look at what they call evolution, and people say, well, we came from one common ancestors. And they say, well, how come you don't see humans become apes no more? Then how come you ever seen an ape become a human? That's because the ape is a human. So when people say, I've never seen an ape turn to a human, what I try to say to people is, if you actually read the theory behind evolution, it never states that an ape turns to a human. It states that they are in the category of ape. So let's say a bird and a parrot. If I tell you a bird and a parrot has a common ancestor, you would never say, I've never seen a parrot turn to a bird, because you know a parrot is a bird.
Right.
So when you say a human is an ape, you're not saying they're what you're calling an ape. You're saying that they're from the ape family. So that being said, whether you guys are watching or not, don't want to accept the reality that we live in, I'll ask those that have accepted it to look at how apes eat. They don't eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner, family, right? They eat their fruit from off trees. And if you look at how trees have the fruit on it, it's like a little round fruit, right? Like a banana, or orange, apple. I don't know why I named that a fruit that was obviously not round first and a banana dip. We know that a lion can't grab that animal. I mean, grab that apple. Can't grab that banana, but your hands can. It's almost like you evolved just to reach for that food. That's what it looks like to me, right? They actually very rarely eat meat. Their body makeup on the inside is made just like ours, as far as having longer organs, longer stomachs, which does not is not in alignment with a carnivore, right? So we learn when we start eating like the animals that most resemble us, we're actually healthier, right? But most humans do not eat like their common ancestors at all, right? But again, we see these animals, but we look at them like, hey, they are animals and we are the superior beings, right? Well, evolution says that we evolve differently, not superiorly. So evolution is like a tree, right? Each limb pointed in its own direction. Not any limb is higher than the other. So let's just say I looked at apes and says, well, I'm not an ape because I'm superior to them. Well, in certain ways, yeah, because we evolve differently, right? Like humans can build airplanes and technology, and we travel and we have different forms of moving around than apes, right? But if you put me in front of an ape and you ask me to squab up with that ape, now who is superior?
Exactly.
If you ask me to live outside in the environment as that ape, like now who's superior? Right? Because I have to wear clothes to survive. The ape could look at me and say, I'm superior to you because I don't have to put on outfits to survive nature, sir. Like nature, right? I live out here in it, just like every other animal. Y'all the ones that's unnatural. Y'all the ones that's inferior, right? By their view, they could easily say that. And I could say, well, you can't beat me I can't beat you in a fight, Mr. Ape, but I can zoo you. I'm so smart with my intellect. I'll just set a trap for you. I won't fight you straight up. See, that's what makes me superior to you, ape. That's what makes me superior to the lion is I don't have to fight them. Yeah, they're superior to me if I have to run from them, right? Or chase them down. But if you put me with my intellect, I'll create a tool. And I ain't never even got to see you, lion. You won't even get close to me. But that does not mean that I evolved higher than them. It means that I evolved differently and I'm using my skill sets, right?
Evil. That makes you,
right. It means we're evil.
Yeah, it makes you evil. Just to take advantage of you. I can't beat you, so I'm a trap you.
Right. I'm gonna trap you in my own. I'm gonna trap you in my own way. And
Yeah.
so if you say, well, if I can trap you, that makes me superior to you because I trapped and tricked you, but we're trapped and tricked.
Right.
By seemingly the same species that as us. So you see how that works? That that same mind of a human can entrap and ensnare you, and you're a human. So you can't really use that ability alone to say you're superior, right?
Right.
So what we have to do is say, let's stop that superiority complex, the believing that we have dominion over the earth. What if we are supposed to live inclusive with the earth? What if we're supposed to understand the earth by the earth and not disagree with it, thinking that we are supposed to change it by having this sprinkled on dominion?
Mm-hmm.
That means we probably wouldn't go into the forest and chop them down. That means we'd live within them. That means that we wouldn't inhibit our evolution. Because if you ask me, in 100 years, humans will have gotten weaker by way of biology. We've created brains outside of ourselves that think for us, so we won't be getting smarter. I think we'll be getting dumber. So I think that what we have done with our intellect is devolve ourselves.
It shows.
The Matrix is really about humans creating these robots and then these robots taking over the humans.
Yeah.
That's what I think subsequently is happening. Because we are building these things outside of ourselves, which shows that we're brilliant, it makes us lazy when we depend on them. Right? So your ability to normally navigate is reduced because of your ability to create a navigation device. That's not a good thing, right? Because you stopped learning to navigate because you created a machine to do it for you. Right.
Yeah. My father does not believe in that.
Right.
He's an ex-truck driver, so I got the map in my head. I'm not listening to no GPS, and that's something he always instilled in us. Make your marks, look at your marks, look at where you are. And like the sad part about where I'm from, I used to tell people I could tell I could tell I'm closer to home by the trees. I could tell, but they're cutting down everything. You don't even know there's no markers. Like you can't tell where you are because we are evolving. We're building up, cutting up trees, building up all these homes that the banks are taking over and leaving abandoned homes. Nobody's staying in the homes, but there's a population. We got too much population, but where's everybody? And then you have a person like Bill Gates, who was not a doctor, who didn't create anything, but is put his patent on things and making decisions for the entire world, buying up farmland and to create lab grown meat. Like we're saying, I'm like, are people really paying attention? But it goes back to what we are really, the human being is really dumb. And if you watch the children, I tell people, please, like I DJ and I get to see firsthand, they don't know how to communicate with each other. The difference between the generations before is, for me growing up, we wanted to be in love. Like we wanted to experience love. These kids, it's like they don't know how to. Everything is an act. So as soon as they get in a relationship, it's bae, 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 bae. It's something that they saw on a vlog. Everybody's dressing the same. Everybody's posing the same. Down to church, everybody's shouting the same. All the music sounds the same. Everything is the same. And as a creative, it's like I love Jill Scott's what she said. This you bitch, and you I'm a bad bitch. I'm a sexy bitch. I'm a boss bitch. I'm this bitch. Bitch. I'm tired. Like it makes you feel like I'm in a twilight zone. Like this, none of this. Where are we? Where I went to Jamaica, and just riding from the airport to our destination, I got to see kids running bare feet, hair plaited and braided. It felt like straight from 2023 to 1990, and the kids running and playing and walking. Nobody's crossing the road and looking down. You can't, because how they drive. So you got to pay attention. The men spoke to you, and it wasn't, hey mama, how you doing? Hey, it's Kiki. It was none of that. It's respect. How you doing, sister? But you come home and the men literally look past you. I've even you, and it's not this generation, and this is my age and older. You know, I ain't even thinking about the young boys. You know, but it is hurtful because it's like, what happened? What happened to us to where I can literally say, "How you doing?" They will look you in the face, like they'll look at you and keep walking. They won't speak. And if they can, they won't look at you. Like it's sad, and you get online, and like we're doing right now, there's people that literally just want to say something. I just want to I'm not trying to understand. I'm not trying to see where you're coming from. I'm not trying to see your point of view. I just want to say something. I just want to feel important. Or I put up my dog for rehoming, for example, and the person one person responded, "Oh, he's gonna miss you. How bad is it that you put him up for adoption on Facebook? You should go to this." Like, he named the place where I could have, put him up more securely, but in the midst of that, he insulted me first. So I instead of insulting back, I was like, why not just give me the reference? Why did you have to insult me? Maybe I didn't know any better, which I didn't. Like, I don't just rehome animals. This is my pet. Right. And so I came to where I'm used to. And if you had a better resource, why not just say, hey, it probably would be safer if you did it this way. But instead, you insulted me and you gave it to me. And then his response was, well, now you know. It was like, why are we so mean? Like, why? What's the purpose of it? But that's where we are. Like, as a society.
But you notice we're mean to each other, but we're kind to God. And that's why I say that's the unreal thing, because that is the person who none of us have seen, but we see each other every day.
Right.
So if we treated people like we truly believe they were reflections of God and God's children, we wouldn't be being mean to them, because we don't treat God that way. And that's why I question a lot of their belief in God. Because if they truly believe in God, why would you treat his children that way? You know he can see you, right? Like, I wouldn't go around somebody treating their children bad in front of them, saying things in the worst way in front of them. I'd speak highly to them. So I wish that we could love each other with this love that we have for this God that we cannot see. And if we did that, we could truly speak to the insides of people. So many people are emotionally broken in a world that's full of people. It's a social world, but we are broken down. We're not vulnerable enough. So we're alone, even though we're surrounded by many people. And like you said, we don't have intellect to express our emotions or even our wants and needs. If you ask a woman and nowadays what she wants from a man, she is not naming love. And that's sad, that it's going to be his height, his money, his penis size. Why don't you want to be loved? Love? Why did you say, I want a man who loves me? I want a man who listens to me. Right. I want a man who leads with honor and dignity. That's what I want. Why did you say rich? Why? That tells me that you are completely desensitized and all you're thinking about is a lifestyle. And that's not what a marriage is.
Right.
A marriage is something that a family that you're building. You're planning to be parents and then grandparents and great grandparents. So that partner that you want to do that with shouldn't be based on just their financial criteria, right? You should care about how they are in character, because they're going to raise your children, right? They're going to be your children's grandfather, right? These things should matter. And it's crazy that you didn't say you want to be loved, that you didn't want them to love you. So these are things that I think that our vulnerability has simply escaped. And in most cases, I say that we've lost a lot because we are invulnerable. I have this thing. Well, actually, I just did a video and I'll edit it and post it later. But it's about the Keke Palmer thing, right? And I noticed how her husband had a problem with the dress, but it's so many different excuses and gender biases and whatnot to try and disregard how this person feels, right? It's unreal. When we should be able to accept that if your partner feels inadequate or doesn't feel comfortable with something that you did, you should be able to speak to that without trying to make a bunch of excuses. Right. So I said that they called his response to her wearing that dress and reacting like that for another man. They called that insecure and jealousy. And I thought that's unfair to cause the feelings that you invite on a person by giving another person sexual attention as jealousy. That's not jealousy. You know,
Right.
that is not jealousy.
Right.
That's the feelings that you brought on that man because you was looking at another man like you wanted to do something with him. Where I'm from, that feeling's called pain. You know, so I would think that if my wife saw me give another woman sexual attention, stare in her eyes, look at her like I wanted to do something to her, I would think that she's feeling anger and pain from what I did, not jealousy. And I wouldn't say, girl, you just jealous. So I often say that we have a term called a weak ass man, and that's whenever he can't be vulnerable with his woman, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's not motivated enough to go out and be successful to provide for her.
Mm-hmm.
He's not secure in himself to look her in her eyes and compliment her without feeling like she'll just get the big head and run off and leave him. So he can't make her feel beautiful because he may think that she'll use that idea of her beauty and go be with another man. So he needs to keep her broken down, right? So this
Right.
woman who is insecure is his fault. And it's because he's a weak ass man and fails to nurture her, fails to
Right.
build her up. Well, likewise, if a woman says, I ain't got to compliment him, I don't got to cater to his ego, I don't got to make him feel strong. Why I got to make him feel strong and confident? Why? He insecure. Well, if he is, can that be because you're a weak ass woman? I mean, could it? If he says, I don't want you to dress this way, it makes me feel uncomfortable. If she chooses to still do that,
Right.
then ain't she a weak ass woman? I mean, just think about that. I should be vulnerable with you, but I won't.
I'm gonna play devil's advocate because the way I felt about it was, if one that's not her husband, you know, and if he had that understanding before set in stone. For instance, Lacey and Jamie ain't gonna do no shit like that, right? Because they already know the type of person that you are, and you won't even present them in that manner, right? You're not gonna post videos of them naked or in bathing suits. So therefore, they know not to even step out on you like that, you know. But he, on the other hand, does post her dancing in bikinis and doing these different things, you know. Two, where were you when she left the house? If you didn't like it, you should have stopped it then. And then three, I feel like if you're in a relationship with somebody, certain things should be handled privately. I felt that the wrong came in where he openly blasted somebody that you care about. And you're a mother and you're this and you're that. She'd been a mother when you was posting her butt cheeks on your page, you know. So, and then four, if if I had the opportunity to be swindled and swined by Michael Jackson, please let me have my moment. You know, like, just know that I'm not about to go home. Like Ricky's Molly said it best. If my woman was serenaded, that's your job to go back home and make her forget. Like, keep her on her high and you do your job and serenade her when she get home. She done had the best time of her life. You know, like, that's somebody she had on her wall, and for that moment, that man made her feel special. Like, that's been going on in the entertainment world for so long with Keith Sweat, Bobby Brown, Jodeci. They pull this woman up in the audience and let them, you know, you serenade them and make them feel like they're the best, beautiful, most prettiest woman in the audience, and then you send them on their way. You're like, that's what the culture was about. I think we get too involved in. I think I think what happened with the internet and celebrities, it made people feel like we're on it. Not that they're high, nobody's better than, we know that, but everybody's not a celebrity. And I think everybody feels like I'm a celebrity and I'm on that status. But if a Janet comes in, you're not gonna see that. You're not gonna get the same result. No shade or nothing like that. You're not gonna get the same result as a Soldier Boy coming in. It's a different level, you know. Sure. So when you see a certain thing, I might react. It's not that I want to sleep with Usher, but it's like, oh my God, this somebody I've been watching on TV for 30 years. And this person that I've been giving my attention to and I've been buying all his CDs, he's serenading me, he's singing to me. For this moment, I am enjoying this person and I'm being, and that's it. Like I just wish we could get back to that. Like, we are so everything, it's just too much. It's like we can't just enjoy. We can't. And I think that was the beauty before the internet. You know, like, just go have fun. It'd be different if they left the party together, or once he finished singing, he went and sung to another female. And that was that. But because of who she is, we made it a big thing. And I just feel like he carried, I don't think that I know I wouldn't. Like if my wife is a huge fan of, and I can say this because I have a wife, of LL Cool J. I love LL Cool J. If he picked her out of the crowd and been licking his lips and making her feel sick, I'm screaming for her, girl. Go ahead. I know how you feel. Like it's not like, oh, I'm intimidated or I feel that no, I had a guy, we was getting our tires changed yesterday. And he said, hey, tell your friend I like her. I said, oh, you like her? And hey, he likes you. That's my wife, by the way. Oh, no disrespect. That's a compliment. She's beautiful. Why would I come and try to, hey, you don't be looking at, you're supposed to admire, she's beautiful. Why am I get mad at you for admiring who I'm confident in myself to know she don't want you. She not gonna leave with you. And if she do, that's her choice. But everybody is different in, what it is. I get it. I get that point of the respect, of having that respect. But I also believe that you have to set your stuff in stone at home first. You don't let her leave home the way she left home and then get mad that somebody showed her attention.
Right. So I see it a little bit different. I see, well, the first thing you said about they weren't married, I see it as like, if you're in a relationship with each other and I'm committed to you, I'm not going to change how I treat you when we get married. So there's not going to be some new respect for you because we're married, right? I'm not going to look at women up and down while I'm with you, even if I'm just in a relationship with you, because I recognize that marriage is just a government form, right? Doesn't make it more holy than what we already have. So what we should have is a commitment to each other and have respect and honor and dignity for each other and have some type of consideration for each other's feelings and emotions, right? And that ain't going to change whether I'm married or not. I would think that even if I wasn't married to a woman, if I'm out at a concert, let's say if I'm at a Chloe Bailey concert and I walk up on stage or she calls me up on stage and she's singing to me, that's one thing that she sings to me. But if I'm looking at Chloe Bailey like I want to have sex with her on the spot, I would know that my girlfriend, whether she's a wife or not, is at home feeling uncomfortable feelings by that because she's seeing the look in my eye that I'm giving her. I've always been this type of person. If I'm out with my woman, you ain't about to see me turn my face to look at another girl's ass or her or anything. I like I don't see you. I don't care how beautiful you are. I'm not doing that because I have more character than that. I can hold myself accountable to that.
Even you felt like she was looking at him like she wanted to have sex with him?
Oh yeah, from my view, when she turned around just to show him her butt, and then she was just looking at him like, and then they was hugging each other. They was real close. If I was her man, I'd be feeling like she would sleep with Usher. Like she's really interested in him. Now it's a little deeper than that. I'll explain that in a second. But if my woman was at a concert and that's how she was reacting with a guy, those feelings that I feel are not jealousy. I'm actually feeling hurt. I actually feel like I can't trust her around certain men. And I would only marry a woman if she's inspired by me more than any other celebrity, because I don't have those type of things. Men are not really built that way. We don't really have celebrity crushes and stuff. But we know that women do. But I don't want my woman, and this may sound crazy, but I don't want her to have that. I don't want to feel like anybody can have my woman. I mean, we know the world has celebrities in them, but I don't see why, because they're a celebrity, it means you want to sleep with them. I think that that's also something that we were engineered to believe in and think. He's a singer or he's an actor, does a great job in their profession. Why does that turn into you should want to sleep with him? You're going to want to sleep with a banker because he's good at his job? It makes no sense. We do romanticize these people, and they have a life that is absolutely unreal. Wherever they go, women are throwing themselves at them, whether they're married or not, simply because they saw them on TV before. I would want my wives to be kind of over that or out of that celebrity type mindset. And that's just the first point. I don't believe whether they're married or not should have held any real weight. But I do understand that many people think that marriage is a higher sanctity than a relationship. And I guess it is, so maybe if she were married, she wouldn't have carried herself that way. I agree with you that he shouldn't have said anything to her online. I think that was childish.
Yeah.
I think that showed underdevelopment as a man. I think it showed that he needed social media to validate his emotions. And I think that all shows that you're not a great leader. I think that if you truly honor your wife, you'd never counsel her in front of people. That's embarrassing.
Exactly.
So even if you didn't like her attire or the look, you wait till your wife get home and you talk to her about it. Because when you speak to her publicly, you may embarrass her. And what you get from her could be her ego. And that ego could be very much bigger than yours. And we're seeing that they broke up now and they have a baby. And I think that when they create babies together and they last throughout the pregnancy and they're in a relationship early in the child's life, I believe they want to raise their children together, their child together entirely. I think
Right.
their goal is that their child has both parents. And I think in that emotional moment, if they're going to sever it all, it shows me that that's some childishness there, that they're willing to forego their child getting to have both of their parents and now invite them to experience every negative stereotype that belongs to a single parent raising a child. I think that's pretty crazy because it all came over just how somebody was dressed. So that's why I say we should have talked to her about that, right? But now I'll say this. I think it says a lot for a person to go out with their whole butt out to garner attention. But it's a world where women are able to use their fashion and they see that it's that showing of their body is not an insecure thing, that that's a way to express themselves. However, men don't have that world. And if a man went out with his ass out like that or the front part of him showing, it wouldn't even be a conversation. That man would be in jail. It wouldn't be seen as beautiful. So I do think we have an unbalanced world. And even women should be forced to go out with some clothes on. Because if she turned her butt around, she turned her ass around to even her child. And I think that's crazy because I would never want my child to see my whole butt like that. Like just to me, nakedness is not for my children. My nakedness is not for my children. You understand? So I would say to my wife, that isn't wise because you didn't just show your butt to every other child in the world, but you showed it to ours. And the people at that concert are not just the only ones there. Now, I do understand that in a moment, if it's not Keke Palmer, if she's not a celebrity herself and it's my wife, I can understand in a moment how she can be overwhelmed with emotion due to the fact that she's seeing a celebrity, someone that she hasn't saw in her whole life, but she has spent her life admiring him, listening to his music and songs. I can see the excitement, how that can happen on the spot and her not be prepared for that and may make a face that may make me uncomfortable. I'll give her room for that. But when she turns around and shows him her whole butt, if Lacey or Jamie would have did that, I would have had a big problem with that. I would have been highly offended because my thoughts in mind would have been, I don't know if I can trust you. Like I do trust you now, but if they were to do something like that, I would say the fact that you turn your body around to another man, that to me insinuated that I can't trust you, you know? Now being that Keke Palmer is who Keke Palmer is, as her baby daddy, I probably wouldn't have taken it as offensive as I would take it if my wives did it, because she is also a celebrity. So I don't in fact believe that she was really enthralled by Usher. They're already friends. They already know each other. And I know how I am with people that other people would be truly happy to see. I see them all the time. So to me, they're just my friends. So I have celebrities who are just my friends, right? So to me, they're not a celebrity. They are a celebrity, but they don't do all that for me because I'm a celebrity too, right? Like Keke Palmer's an actress too, and she's known worldwide too. So here's what I think is happening in that scene. I think that Keke Palmer knows that all the cameras are on her, and she's going to do something cool. It's her moment, right? So if Usher's looking at her and singing to her, how should she respond? She's an actress. She should respond like Usher's really wooing her. This will build a connection with all the women who are watching because that's how they would respond. If she's up there making a face like, what you singing ain't that good, you're not doing much for me, that wouldn't be a good show. It would probably be offensive to her friend Usher, right? So I can see how she would act like it's completely amazing. I can see how she would turn around and give him that look because that would make other women go, ooh, ooh. And I can see how
and
her
see,
get
I took the turnaround as
I just killed it.
I took the turnaround as something for everybody. I didn't take that as her showing her his butt, her butt. I took that as
I think she did that for everybody, but I think her using Usher as a prop for that, the boyfriend sees this, the baby daddy sees that, and he doesn't recognize as the whole of what's happening. So he sees this interaction between her and Usher, and he feels very uncomfortable by that. So
he was overcome by emotion.
So and he takes to social media, which he shouldn't. And I think that does show, like I said, some low man qualities, right? However, I do believe that if she was considerate of how her partner felt, her baby's father felt, the person who she elected to be half of her legacy, if she truly cared about how he felt, she wouldn't have she probably would express that it embarrassed her, right? But I don't think it's right to disregard your partner's feelings, right? So like you said earlier, you can understand it all. Now, let's just say that, you said if your lady was up there getting wooed by Usher, you might cheer her on, but that's your dynamic's a little bit different. Let's say if you're dating a guy and he's up there and Chloe Bailey pulls him up there and sits him down on a chair and she sits in his lap and start dancing all over him, and he's looking at her like he could just give it to her right now.
Mhm.
Are you going to cheer your husband on or your boyfriend on and say, "You get it, boy"?
In all honesty, I would. Because it goes back to, but that's what I'm saying. Like, I get it, because I guess for me, I'm an artist, so I know the whole point of the, I've done stuff like that as well. Pull people out of the audience, you dance, you don't want them, like you just you're doing that. You supposed to. I would hope if somebody is grinding on me or I'm grinding on somebody, they biting their lip or something. You know what I'm saying? Like, but if my husband was, you know what I'm saying? Like, and as a woman, I wouldn't want that for that woman. For if you grinding on a dude, I can't stand to see that. If you dancing on a dude and they looking like you ain't nothing, like, because that's the persona that we give it. Like, oh, I ain't fazed by this. I see ass all the time. It's like, it's not fun no more. Like, I'm in that era of, like, hype it up. Let's go. Like, for instance, that probably wouldn't happen. But if we were in a club and all of us are dancing together, if I grabbed you, I would hope that Lacey and Jamie wouldn't get offended. I would hope that you would dance with me and know that that's it. You know what I'm saying? But that's just me. Everybody's different. You know what I'm saying? Like,
it'll have to be 6 inches in between us on some
moment, like, that's weird.
You hear me?
Yeah, like if you think about how we were coming up in high school, you dance with anybody. Like, right. That's where the joke of the light, till the lights come on and you realize who you was dancing with. Like, but this is a song, I ain't got nobody to dance with you in the club, you grinding. Like, if my man had really loved Chloe Bailey and I took him to a Chloe Bailey concert and Chloe Bailey put him on the stage, go ahead, enjoy your moment, boo-boo. Get it. Go ahead and get it.
All right, so
but that's just me.
Right, but let's say, for instance, you wouldn't like that, right? Would you want him to respect how you felt? If you wouldn't,
yeah, but that's why I say it goes back to home. It goes back to home. Like you already, y'all have an understanding already. They know how you feel already. So maybe he presented himself in a way where he was comfortable with that. And when it happened without him being there, it didn't sit so well. And so now you want to, but for instance, you look at Sierra and Russell. Russell posted Sierra all the time. She's a sex symbol. She's a dancer, and like pretty much an exotic dancer. He knows who she is. So there's people out there saying, "Oh, she married. She don't need to be dressed like that," but he like it. You don't ever see him complaining about it. He'll post it. He'll stand beside her. She goes and she do her videos. If she goes and she dances with Chris Brown on stage, they are two awesome dancers. I would hate to see them share the stage and not really dance with each other. That would be a disservice to us. But because we're mixing entertainment with reality, we don't get as much entertainment as we should. Listen to the music. Now, people don't sing together anymore. This person got a verse in a song and this person got a verse in a song. There used to be somebody, Nate Dogg used to be singing in the background. There was somebody harmonizing throughout the song. Now it's just, he got a verse, I got a verse, song over. There's no togetherness, there's no mixing, nobody. It's just, or Keith Sweat had Who Can Love You Like Me, and there's a female back there singing together. Like, it's just, make it seem real so we can feel the love and the emotions, so I can want to go home and have sex with my spouse. Like, turn me on in this moment. Like, let me get turned on by watching what's supposed to happen with two men and women. Take your emotion that you feel for that woman and come do me. That's just how I feel. But everybody's different. I wouldn't get offended in that area because I know my place. I know where it's at. But that, like you said, but I don't feel. I feel like we got to talk about it first. If I know that this is how my spouse feels, then one, I'm not gonna leave the house a certain type of way, and two, I ain't even gonna go on stage with them. Like, if that's the case, just don't even let her go on stage.
Right. See, I totally agree when it comes to the Russell Wilson and Sierra thing. If he's not expressing a problem with that, I don't think we should. Like, people always ask me to speak on that, but I'm not speaking on that. He ain't said it was a problem. The only reason that I would speak on the Keke Palmer situation is because he said it was a problem. He made it publicly known. Now, a lot of times we don't know if they have a problem because Russell Wilson could have talked about it behind closed doors. But I don't think that's fair to suggest. Just like I don't really think it's fair to suggest that he could have saw the dress before she left,
Right.
because he commented that he didn't like the dress. So I don't think that it doesn't make sense that he would comment that that dress is inappropriate if he saw it before she left. This doesn't make sense. So
Right.
I wouldn't conclude that. I would just say, okay, without deducing it down to all these different nuanced things, I'm going to say he saw the dress like we all saw it and had a
Yeah.
problem with it, right? Now, he didn't speak to the look that she had towards Usher. So I would be a bit of a straw man by making that argument about that's probably what the problem was. Maybe the issue was truly the dress. And if that is the case, she does always dress like that. She did dress like
Right.
that before he met her. He does take pictures of her like that. So she may have very well thought this dress will be
It
okay.
was fine.
He may have
Right.
very well thought turning around in the dress will be okay, or it could have been in the moment. The cameras are on, let me do my thing. And it could have been, hey, I just wasn't thinking about you in the moment. It's not that I want Usher or anything like that, but so I don't give her this she's a bad woman type thing for that.
Right.
I say that the failure to nurture your man, the failure to pour into him came once he corrected her. Okay.
Yeah.
The fact that she didn't care how he felt about it. And now that breaking up shows that shows a weakness for me. Okay.
Yeah.
If you tell your man you didn't like him going up on stage and shaking his stuff all over Keke Palmer or Chloe Bailey, and he dumps you, that shows that he doesn't nurture well as a man. He doesn't listen to his lady and conform and care about her needs. So the reason I raised that example is because both parties must be strong in a relationship. Women don't really realize this, but that is inappropriate when they say they shouldn't have to compliment their man. We know that it's linked to somewhere where they feel like they lose something if they pour into their man. When you are in a relationship, you should wholeheartedly trust each other with your all. And if you cannot do that, you have to say that's a problem with you being vulnerable. Now, we call that being weak when it's a man. And I think we should call it the same thing when it's a woman. So if your man is constantly asking for validation and he constantly wants to feel strong and like he matters to you, and as a woman, you cannot build that man without feeling like he's taking something from you. If you can't say, you mean the world to me, you're handsome, you're strong, you are a mighty man, I believe in you, I believe in your goals and dreams, I believe you can conquer the world, baby. If you can't say those things to your man and truly act on it without having attitudes and whatnot, you are weak. As a woman, you're a weak woman.
Right.
Just like as a man, you would be weak if you can't pour into your woman, right? She feeling ugly. You can't even tell her she's pretty. So she had to put on a dress and come to you and say, do you think I'm pretty? He's like, what do you think? Long as you feel good, you good. I shouldn't have to build your ego. Your ego is on you, love. If you don't feel beautiful, that's on you. Your beauty don't come from me. If he's telling her that, you say, bruh, now that's your woman.
Yeah.
And she cares about how you think about her.
Right.
Can you tell her? Right? You would tell that woman, he cares about how you think about him. Can you tell him? Can you pour into him? Right? So I say this, because a lot of our women today are thinking with a weak mind. They're thinking a relationship should consist of a man coming in with everything and them nothing. That comes from having a weak mind, because you're not accepting that your superpower is nurturing. No, you don't have to have anything tangible, but that is because your superpower is intangible. Your ability to inspire this man is not something that you can show him day one. It's not. Okay. And him, honestly, it shouldn't be that he should have to show you all of his accumulated assets for you to trust him. It shouldn't be that. Back in the day before the Matrix, you couldn't prove to a woman that you had resources. You couldn't save them. Food spoiled, and your only resource was nature, natural things. So if I'm a good hunter, how do I show my woman that? I don't have a whole bunch of deer in the refrigerator. There was no refrigerator, right? I don't have a bunch of fish stocked up. I can't show it to her. She had to look at my stature, and she had to determine from that if she thought I was sufficient. Now, I may not be the strongest man, but I may be good with an arrow, right? I may be good with the fishing rod. So it don't have to be all in my muscles, but it's got to be in my abilities, right? And so what she does, she has to trust me, because I ain't coming into it rich. Nobody did. And so I have to trust that this woman is going to pour into me. So I believe when a man and woman come together in that beautiful way, and she says, I see potential in you, I'm going to invest in that potential. He says, I see the same in you, and I'm going to invest in that. And nobody's saying you got to have this first. If she truly believes in him, I believe that she alone with that superpower can make him the best man that he can be. Okay. I've seen men who weren't that capable, who had not disciplined themselves into being a go-getter. But I've seen them get with a woman who they truly adored, and that woman changed that dude. I've seen dudes go from lazy to having crazy work ethic because they with a woman that they love and that woman believes in them. I've seen men break the bank just to make a woman happy. I'm talking about spend more than he earns on her. I've seen him spend his whole check just to make her smile. And if he could get that woman's attention, he would earn more money just to give her the world. Like, I can't give you the world today, but if you be with me because of how he feels about her, I'll give it to you later. But the only way he can give it to her later is if she uses faith like she would in this Bible, and never mind what she sees, never mind what it looks like, and pour into that man as if their destiny is based on her ability to nurture him, like she would her child. Your child's strength is based on your ability to nurture him, whether you feed your child with your milk, whether you pour into them with your words, and how far they go is based on you. Right. This, in a lot of ways, makes her a leader. Right. So she doesn't have to go to the relationship saying, I just got to be a follower. No, you empower him. If you are his motivation, why are you not the thing that leads him? Right. You may not be leading him by way of guidance and rules, but you are the leader. Like, trust me, his motivation, which is love for you, is what causes him to create all of this stuff for you. Right. So I believe that if women didn't judge men based on what they have, and they judge men based on the potential that they see in that man, and they believed in it wholeheartedly and use their nurturing to make that man be who he's supposed to be, I believe that women would have a stronger man. I believe they have a stronger relationship, a stronger commitment from that man, because he would know, yo, she here for me. I try and tell women all the time, if you get him early, if you try my theory and you get him early, you'll have your value with him will be priceless. You will be irreplaceable because you were there day one and you loved him when nobody else did. Nobody else did. So now that he has the wealth, he wouldn't even be able to trust other women because they're only wanting for his wealth. So he trusts you because you was there before anything, and that's a benefit to that. But if you wait until this man then conquered the world, he is not going to see the value for you like he would if you were there from the beginning. He's going to question why you're there. He's going to know he amassed all of that without you, without you building him in any way. So that would lower your value. So the best chance is get him while he's young, get him while he's building. Don't wait at the finish line and try to date the winner. He ain't gonna want you. Right. He's not. He's gonna want his choice, and that choice is gonna be based on something superficial. I promise you, he's gonna want the prettiest woman in the world now. Right. You see? And so I believe that if a man gets with a woman and he is not planning to build her up into the woman that he sees her to be, and he's not willing to nurture that potential he sees in her, I also say that's a weak man. You know, so I do believe that there's an imbalance when it comes to how we see relationships. And I hate that we went that long on that, because your original point was just saying how people are not actually seeking love and commitment and connection and longevity in relationships. They're seeking a good time, right? Yeah. They're seeking a title. They're seeking to be in a relationship. So they want somebody to call bae, but they don't know how to respond to the person that they call bae. They don't understand the sacrifice that comes with that bae. To have a person that you're in a relationship with, now that means you're no longer alone. So yes, you can go shake your butt however you want to, dance how you want, dress how you want, live how you want, sleep with as many women as you want when you're single. However, when you are in a relationship, you know there's another person. So y'all have to now treat each other like you like to be treated. And I think that should matter. It should matter. So if I'm
and you have to talk.
You have to talk.
You know, and that's the problem with the generation not knowing how to communicate. They feel like, okay, I meet this shorty, and we together now. We jump straight to sex, and we in a relationship. And I'm just supposed to know what you like, what you don't like, you know, and you do something I don't like. I don't know how to tell you I don't like it. So I attack you. We don't talk in between time, you know, besides little short text messages. So I don't know you. You know, we just go together. We just date. And so until you do something that I don't like, then I start cursing you and I'm dogging you. And to me, that's basically what happened. Yeah, they had a child together. Yeah, but they clearly something in between was missing. That's why I said, I know how to act around you. I know what your spouses wouldn't do because of how you carry yourself, and you can express yourself. A lot of men cannot express themselves, and a lot of women today cannot express themselves. And a lot of people are doing what they see on music videos and vlogs. If you watch the babies on up to the teenagers, they are mimicking what they see. We watch movies growing up. they watch vlogs every day. So you have 5-year-olds that acting like kids from Real Housewives.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like they are acting. Their relationship is based on an act.
Right.
You know, we came up in a era of, oh, I want to be in love, but I can't wait to see what my boyfriend calls me.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't automatically assume that he was going to call me baby.
Right.
You know, maybe he was going to call me honey.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's going to be sweetheart. Maybe it's going to
Right.
be Bookie. Maybe it's going to, you know, everything is the same. No, it's because they're pretending. They don't know how to be in a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just doing what the songs say. And then you make me mad is, fuck all these hoes. You know, oh, my heart on ice, I'm broken hearted. It's like, it's there's no in between. I love you today because we together today. We're gonna have sex, we're gonna have a baby. That's what we're supposed to do. You do something I don't like, I'm on to the next.
Yeah.
That's it.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. There definitely needs to be an understanding of what relationships are. That does, because we don't have them. And I think that's why everybody weighed in on what they thought about the relationship whenever he made it known what he didn't like about it. I think that's why everybody weighed in with their perspective of a relationship. And I think a lot of that broke down their relationship even more, because now it seems that Kiki has taken on the idea of ego. Honestly, she's making rap songs and stuff like that, and stuff kind of like rubbing it in his face, which tells me he may have didn't approach that in a sincere way. He may have in fact made her feel like she was, you know, whorish or fast for dressing that way, when shaming tactics it isn't the way to talk to each other when you're in a relationship. So if as a man he shouldn't go to her and be like, you walk around with your ass out, you want everybody to
attack your partner in public,
right? Instead of just asking her what she meant by it. So I absolutely agree. And we're coming close to the end, so I'm gonna read these next two things, family, and we're gonna be back here again for another build. Okay. I just read. Well, it's one more. I read seeking support, and I think I said this. Let me just make sure. Seeking support. It is important for individuals leaving religion to find support and a sense of community, connecting with like-minded individuals, joining secular, atheist organizations, or seeking therapy can provide invaluable support during these transitions. So I did talk about that, going and getting therapy and things like that, to see how you are contributing to your own life in a negative way, and you may be oblivious to it because of how you were raised. All right. Number 8, cultivating personal growth. Leaving religion can be an opportunity for personal growth and self-discovery. It encourages individuals to think critically, develop their own moral compass, and explore their values, passions, and purpose for life. So before we end, I'm going to say this. We know that all religions have a religious type of moral code, right? Now, we know that the Bible tells us many things are wrong, but then it has what it calls the 10 Commandments, right? And then some of those commandments don't seem to make a lot of sense, right? Like, don't boil a baby goat in its mother's milk, right? So what's the consequences of that? It doesn't really say. So we do know that all the commandments don't really hold a lot of sense, where things like do not steal, do not kill, these things make sense, right? So for me, okay, the things I didn't understand about the Bible that offended God, like putting up a Christmas tree, those are not part of my moral code. Okay, so if you see myself and my family celebrating Christmas, it's because I know I can do whatever I want now. Okay, and it's a tradition that we all agree upon, and we can celebrate whatever we want because that's what traditions are: social agreements to remember certain days, right? But my moral code comes from consequences. So what I do and how I created my moral code outside of religion, I said, what things come with negative consequences? What things come with positive consequences? So even if it's something that I desire to do myself, if it comes with negative consequences, I find that morally not acceptable. Okay, because negative consequences come from that. And I believe that the best life that a man or woman can live is by being the most aware they can be and making the best decisions in that moment. I believe that is the golden key to having an amazing, fulfilling life, is being conscious. Don't be on autopilot. Don't know that there are things that you should do and don't do them, right? For instance, if you want to start a business, you know the steps and the paperwork to fill out to start the business. Do that, regardless of how it feels. Do it, because whoever's the most aware in the moment, whoever makes the best decisions in the moment, that's who's going to ultimately have the best life. I truly believe that. So I look at our community, I look at our families, And I believe a lot of the things that we're doing are mistakes and wrong because it leads to negative outcomes, right? Um, so that's why I say here that last thing, cultivating personal growth, leaving religion can be an opportunity for personal growth and self-discovery, right? Not basing your morals on what someone else tells you morals are, but basing your morals on what gets you farther in life, what leads a healthy or harmonic life for others around you. And for example, I'll give you this idea of people say, well, they can sleep around, sleep with whoever they want to, and no one should care. No one should call them out their name, whether they're a man or woman. I agree. No one should call you out your name. I agree. No one should even treat you different. If you carry yourself in the way that would be described as a whore, right, or a dog, right, I don't think people should see you and treat you like a whore or a dog. I think you should be treated like a human being, because how you have sex is no indication on how you are as a character, right? How you should be treated. However, who you date is far different, right? Who you date is far different. So you are welcome to live your life and you should be respected. However, if your lifestyle leads to a negative outcome for our community, then you can see how that has a problem, right? So if myself says I'm going to go out here and just sleep with a bunch of women, and why shouldn't I be able to do that? Well, you'd say because it leads to single parenting, right? It leads to a bunch of children being born. Sex leads to children. So, so it would be best that I didn't live a lifestyle like that, because if everyone did it, our children are just going to not have fathers and mothers, right? And we're going to be questioning our environment, but not questioning our behavior. So we will all lobby for a lifestyle that's free of choice. We can choose to do whatever we want to, but we're all complaining about the world that freedom of choice creates. And I think that is where awareness comes in, where the God version of you comes in, right? We have an idea for a great world. Can we sacrifice enough to create it? Can we set aside our own selfish desires to create the world that we want to see, right? And I believe that's how we create a better world, honestly. If what we're doing today feels good, but it leads to a negative outcome, it's probably wrong, regardless of if it feels good, right?
Right.
And if you notice, they are teaching us that sex is about feeling, right? It's about, even in school, they're teaching you it's about how it feels to you. When sex is a holy act, it is a sacred act. It is an act that you should only do with someone that you're trying to create a family with. But we have reduced that all the way down to something that's just fun. You know, so I do believe we live in a very secular world, outside of religion or not. And that world is destroying the environment that you and I have to go out and live in. If we carried ourselves with more standards, I believe that we'd have healthier home structures, we'd have healthier culture in our communities, and we have higher values. But because our world is, in your example that you gave, how we love celebrities, we love entertainment, I believe that we make entertainment our moral code, and not consequences our moral code. And I say in that way, God is consequences, because nobody can avoid them, not even God. God creates the devil and is now still paying for that. God can't even avoid consequences, right? And so that shows you that consequences are absolutely inevitable. And we shouldn't live like they don't exist, right? So to me, guys, if you are saying, how can I create a stronger moral structure, stronger moral compass in a world that is truly desensitized? Look at the consequences of your actions. Look 10 to 15 years into the future and see how your actions what consequences your actions would create. If you see they don't lead to a positive income, today you got to take charge of that and change your decision making and change the things that you do by creating better discipline for yourself. And then in 10 years, you should see how your life manifests the things that you want, not a world that you don't want. You understand? So I don't know how you recreated your world and your moral compass. But if you could, before we go off this segment, could you tell them a little bit about how you created your morals and how you look at yourself and things like that?
Yeah, my whole demeanor is just be free, don't hurt no thing, nobody. You know, if I can't help you, I'm not gonna harm you. Live and let live, and you know, just focus on you, focus on your temple. You know, I believe that God is everything that you see, that you are experiencing this realm through you. You know, and so live, find out what you like, take the time to let yourself be reinvented. Don't try to do what the next person does. Like in our first video that we did a few years ago when we talked about it, you know, I decided to let my hair freeform, you know. But it was a spiritual journey. You know, if you look at my whole family, all of us are now locked, but all of us went through our own transition of why. You know, like my sister, she had weave in her hair too long, and she ended up having to cut it. So that started her Afro journey, and then she eventually locked it. When I became awake and aware of the knowledge in my health, then I knew that I needed to leave relaxers alone. And so, you know, you go through the stage of letting all that dead hair grow out before you cut it. And then, you know, I went with the afro when I did the big chop. I went with the afro for a while. And then after that, I started studying about, you know, our hair as a culture. And once I did that, then, okay, I knew that I wanted to lock it, but I didn't want to just lock it. Let me look at the spiritual meaning of it. And according to what I struggled with, which is control, I decided to freeform because I had no control. So now a lot of people might look at, if you look at the journey, I went through that phase of looking wild and crazy, and like I had let myself go. And I talk about this in the book as well, Reinvention After Religion. I went through the phase of them saying, oh, she let herself go and everybody talking about you, to now people come to me and ask me, how did you get your hair like that? What did you do? Did you combine them together? No, this is how this is how God made me. You know, the way my hair kit is, to if when you see it, I didn't do anything with it. I wash it and I let go. It naturally locked on its own, you know. So that was my spiritual transformation. You know, that was me. Okay, let's move on from there, from the hair. How do you want to dress? What do you want to, you know, look like? You're gonna feel lost at times, you know, because you have to figure out what you like, because you have been programmed to look a certain way and dress a certain way, and this is how you're supposed to do it. Okay, maybe I don't like tight shirts no more. Maybe I like big shirts. Maybe I like pants that have pockets. You know, maybe I like I don't know. You give yourself
Right.
time. You know, where like I think you said back in the day, people picked at you for wearing sandals. You know,
Right.
like
It is.
but when you realize it's a healthier journey, like our feet are supposed to be, our toes supposed to have be flat and spread. You know, like everything that we've been taught has been makes us make decisions that we make. And so I actually went through that whole process of just thank you, just figuring out who I was and what I liked. Like I mentioned before, I became a professional copycat. You know, I would take a little bit from this person, take a little bit from that person, take a little bit from this person. Then I created me. And then after a while, it's like, well, who am I? What do I like? And once I started letting myself experience and find it, I am who I thought I was. I am
Right.
who that little girl saw, but I didn't know how to become that. You know? And now at this age, I am who I saw as a kid. I saw who I am. I just didn't know how to get there. So I
Yeah.
think that's the whole purpose of it, is just allowing yourself the opportunity to be reinvented. You know,
Yes,
spending
ma'am.
that time with
Yes, ma'am.
yourself. You know,
I completely agree that freedom is very much needed, and I think that's the brilliance of being away from religion. Is you don't have to be in this corporate mindset with your social group. You can be an individual, because we got
right,
to remember that we are that we're all alone in this world. The experiences and the perspective that you have, literally no one in the entire world gets access to that. Your thoughts are completely 100% yours. Nobody gets access to that. No one gets to taste the food when you eat it, hear the music whenever you do. So truly, you are alone. Nobody hears these things and sees it like you do, right?
right,
And so I believe that life is about truly balance of oneself. If you are living your life solely for sexual endeavors, you are out of balance. If you're living your life solely for tangible or financial endeavors, you are out of balance. If you are seeking your life solely just to be a good person with morals and things like that, you may be out of balance. If you're just seeking intellect, you could be out of balance. Like if you're just seeking working out, you could be out of balance. And what you learn in life, and what many of our ancestors throughout life understood, is that it is about balance. And I think that's why they show all this iconography that we are seeking to be regulated and be balanced, right? So if it's
right,
like, say I chase just money, right? I may fail in character, right? So I may have a lot of money, but not have a lot of character. And I may not have a whole lot of intellect either. I mean, you see
Right.
a lot of athletes do amazing things. And then when you give them the mic at the end of the game, they can't form a sentence, right? So you can see
Right.
that while they have spent their life sharpening one aspect of themselves, another one was left, right? And so
Mhm.
they're not as smart as they could be. And they don't express themselves as much as they could, right? So this means that all that money they amass, they could be manipulated out of that money, right?
Mhm.
They could, in bad character, make decisions that cause them to lose all that money, sleeping around with different types of women that you don't know, and or sleeping around with different types of men you don't know, could really break that down. Um, so I definitely think that we're not just a brain. We can't just think that we are our philosophy. We got to remember that we are a body too. It makes no sense if you have all the logic and wisdom in the world, but you don't take care of your body. You're not going to live as long. I think the universe teaches you should not discount one part of yourself. You should
Right.
work to manifest and vibrate all parts of yourself to truly grow in a balanced way, right? And I think that's why it's all shown as like a circle. Everything you're supposed to sharpen every part of yourself and not leave a single part if you can help that, right? And I
Right.
think that the world is the matrix we live in. You call it the twilight zone. I think that's great. I call it the matrix. It feels like a twilight zone. Goodness gracious, but it seems that they want us to seek out these things from an external perspective. So seek riches for an external perspective, not an internal one. Don't
Mhm.
seek riches because you are your family's cash cow. Don't seek um, 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 finances so you can change your family's lifestyle and be that family member who can catch a bunch of fish and hunt a bunch of deer and change your family. You seek finances for showing it off. You seek finances for external gratifications rather than internal, right? Sex is the same way. You don't seek out your sexual partner for the child that you're going to create. You seek them out for how good they look to your eyes, right? How big is his thing? How big is her butt, right? How
Right.
sexy is her lips, right? This is how we seek sex, and that's how we seek money. And it's so I think that if we were to garner about ourselves some balance and say, okay, my life is about expanding in all areas of life rather than just fulfilling one part of my life, I believe the
Mhm.
world would be, a better place. And I can't, who am I to tell someone that they should be seeking balance, right? And that's what the thing about religion comes into play. You don't want to recreate that, trying to, break that. But I just say that that's what life is about for me. When I look back through at our ancestors and see how they lived their life, it appears that it was about balance. They sought balance, family. And so for me, that's really helped my life. I love it. That I still have parts of my life where I'm very insecure because I haven't put a lot of work in those areas. Typing on a
Right.
computer is one. And so what I do is I challenge myself to do more things on the computer, make myself more comfortable, because I've learned that we live in a world of immeasurable possibilities. We live in a
Right.
world with unlimited potential, but we believe we live in a world of limitless potential. And I don't think that's right. Even the brain itself, we think that dumb or smart is a fixed position, right?
Mhm.
Not that your willpower is what closes the gap between being dumb or smart, right? So
Right.
your ability to be smart is your ability for your brain to be able to be intellectual and create in the moment. If you cultivate your brain, if you challenge your brain will become smarter, just like your body gets stronger when you work out. But most people think their brain is just their brain. So if they're not already smart, they don't believe they can become smart. And that's as
Right.
futile as believing because you can't sing now, you can't be able to sing. And most people, they think that if you don't have a talent or a gift, you're lost. And that's sad because you can create your talents and gifts. You can.
Right.
By working on the same thing every day, you get better at it. If somebody said if you put not 15 to 19 minutes into one thing a day, you'll be better than most 97% of the world in that thing. So if you don't have a natural talent for it, stay at it, family. Keep
Right.
cultivating yourself, keep sharpening that skill, because there should be something that you can create that you can live off of. Being your gift will make room for you. There should be something. No, I don't think anybody, unless you are have a mental deficiency or something like that, or body fit deficiency, you're born paralyzed or something like that. I think that every one of us have these unique abilities that can be cultivated. But if we believe that how we're born
Right.
is how we are, we're going to fail big time in life. If you think that because your sister can sing and you can't, they have a gift and you don't, that's very unfortunate. I think that you should see that as you're made of the same soup as her, right? If you have the same mother and father, you're made of the same soup. So those DNA that's in her is in you. And you may not be able to sing
Yep.
like you like today, but you can summon that ancestor, family. And you do it by continuing to
Right.
sharpen that ancestor. That DNA is in you. You are a ball of magic.
Right.
Every single person that came before you contributed to your life, and you can summon any gift that they ever had. That's why I say you're God. If you can look back and see your family's line, your daddy's line, your mama's line, and you could see every single one of them and what they could do, you truly know the potential that you have. It is unreal. Okay. So you
Right.
are the chosen one. You are the avatar to every ancestor that ever came before you. So, like, if you look at the cartoon Avatar, when he goes into his avatar state, he can see all of the ancestors in that realm looking all the way back. He can see different versions of himself. So your mama, your daddy, your grandparents, aunts, uncles, all those people before you are different versions of yourself. Know that. You understand? Know that your face is made up of all your ancestors. Okay. And that's the indication of what you have in you. So that's why I say challenge yourself in every aspect possible, and you have no idea who you can be. We're all a book that we're just reading. You don't know you any more than I know me. You don't know you even any more than I know. You probably have more insight on who you are than I would have, but who you are inevitably is something that you are learning today. That's part of your journey. Is learning who you are, and I think that's beautiful, right? And so before I mess around and talk for another hour, um, I just want to say, guys, be encouraged to find your own moral code, to find out what you believe, so you can build the best life for yourself possible. And make sure that you guys come to the event that is on the 19th of August. Make sure you get the book.
Yes.
It is trust me, this whole thing is put together to help those of you that struggle with religion, and to help you build that social environment and filled with people and like minds, to help get you out of the state of loneliness, to help get you out of the state of feeling like you're put to this place where you don't have the family and friends and stuff that you like to have. And after the event, family, we're going to have an amazing gala. We're going to dress up in our best attire, and we're going to come ready to dance, celebrate, drink, and be merry. So make sure you get your tickets to the event. We have a very large area as far as to meet in as far as this gala. Let's get formal, family. Come out to the event. I want to see you guys buying your tickets so we can meet. Get your plane tickets and all, so y'all can come out and we can have a beautiful, beautiful time. It's going to be amazing. Myself and my wives will be there. Kween Katt will be there. We want to say to all the vendors, anyone who'd like to be a vendor at this event, please email Kween Katt. I'll have Kween Katt give her email, but please email if you guys want to be a vendor at the gala. Any of that stuff, you want to hit her up. She's in charge of the event and all the details with that. So if you don't mind, Kween Katt, I'll let you close us out, and please give me your email to be able to reach you.
You can do booking, BOOKING at IamQueenKatt.com. I don't know if you guys can see my name on the screen right here. Kween Katt, KWEENKATT. So that's booking at IamQueenKatt.com. If you're interested in being a vendor.
I just typed it in, family. It's right there, booking at queenkatt.com. It's on all of my platforms in the comments. So make sure you guys grab that. And if you guys want to be a vendor at this event, send her a message there. Is there anything you want to say to close us out, Queen?
I'm looking forward to meeting you guys and, connecting at the gala and the doing the Q&A at the book sign, and maybe Kev will have more of his other books available as well. I'll have my book, #NoReligion, as available as well. And let's just, connect and follow each other and, build.
Yes, ma'am. It was great seeing you again, love. Great working with you as always. Can't wait to see you on the 19th. And
yes.
Hey, as a matter of fact, let's go ahead and establish. Let's say you want to meet again here on live, maybe this weekend. What do you think about Friday?
Sounds good.
Okay, so we'll be here, guys, again Friday, 12 noon, Queen. Would that work?
Works for me.
Mm-hmm. Okay, 12 noon Friday, guys. Be here or be square. Okay. What we're gonna be doing? This next time we're gonna review some videos that others have posted in regards to them leaving religion. You'll be able to hear them express a lot of what they went through behind leaving religion, their thoughts on why they left religion, and we'll react to some of the content. Okay, so I'll play my video, of course, when I left religion about 6 or 7 years ago, and I'll play a few more. Okay, so come ready to with your critical thinking caps, and let's be ready to just, listen to these videos and see if we can relate to them, and see if we just vibe with them and understand what they've been going through. Okay, family, and maybe you guys can relate to what they're saying and you don't have the words for it. So I'll see you guys next time. That's Friday at 12 noon on any one of my platforms. That's Facebook or YouTube. All right. Thank you guys for joining us.
Peace.
Peace.